Yeah. I think we're good. Let's do this. All right, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. I am probably 2 minutes behind schedule. There were bets that I was going to be late by a lot, but I'm not. Tonight's show. Thanks for joining us. Thursday Night Live. Been looking forward to this one. This got delayed. It was supposed to be last week. We were supposed to have Heavy and Bo on, Dice Coach, but technical problems, scheduling problems. Now it's happening today, and I've got them both in the green room, and we're going to bring them on. So just before we do this, just so you know, the focus tonight is more of a personal interest of mine on the pre-YouTube side of things, and how everyone learned the game, and specifically how these two legends learned it. So we'll get to questions later on, but mostly it's going to be, it's a nice, this should be very cool just to have both these guys on. So hopefully their mics are going to work and everything's all set up. And thanks for joining us. All right, Bo.
Hey.
Bo, Heavy.
Howdy.
Hell yeah.
Hey, why is it that 25 odd years ago when we first met, I had a black beard and he had a white beard, and he's still got he hasn't changed in 25 years. He looks exactly the same. And I don't know who I look like now, but and I've gotten what hair I've got's gone, and the rest of it's migrated to my face.
Heavy, my hair's gone too. Look at that shit.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to keep mine for a little bit longer.
You just think.
So, well, listen. So I'm going to thank my co-host on Casino Tiers, Ed, for introducing me to you, Heavy. Appreciate it, and sort of making the connections between everyone to get you guys on the show way back when. They were the most popular Casino Tiers episodes, the interviews with both of you guys, and then also obviously Dice Coach, the weekly episode, which who knows, maybe this will evolve into something, because I have so much to talk to you guys about, and it's specifically, so the focus really, I wanted to sort of, there's such a mystery sort of to the history of the game, specifically in regards to teaching. And you guys, I've always considered you guys are living legends of the game since that sort of mythical era, pre-YouTube, which I don't even know when YouTube started, but I'm thinking it was from anywhere from the 80s all the way up until the early 2000s or 2000 like mid early 2000s, when this game was really kind of shrouded in mystery, and it lived and was taught through forums, message boards, all that stuff. And so that's, and right now, as far as I'm concerned, and I'll just, going to shut up in a second, but I just wanted to frame the conversation, which is, I look at craps and as in my evolution and learning the game, that you guys, it's the overlap between football coaching trees and craps. It's always made sense to me. And you guys now learning, talking to Ed, learning about where he's learned and where he's a student of, where I would say he would fall in line under you, Heavy, where he sort of got a lot of his influences. And let's say where I'm grabbing influences from everyone, from Bo I align with, but you also, I take a little from you, Heavy, from all these people. So where I kind of like am feeling like there's obviously GTC, there's Axis Power Craps. Right? Yeah, but if I look at it right now, I mean, and we'll bring in the other guys that have been there. There's Tony Leo. There's a lot of people that are teaching the game that have taught the game.
You've tried them all, haven't you?
I've tried them all, almost everyone.
You've done your research,
and so, but I think you kind of have to get a good sort of to get a good foundation for the game, and then you pick and choose certain things like heavy, like when I called you and I said, listen, that thing you said to me about needing a hole for the 7 or for the rat to go through, like I
Yeah.
use that all the time and I think about that all the time. So this is where I really kind of wanted to go is talk about how you two specifically met, because it was my impression that you guys met at a seminar or a forum, and then you met with, and Dominator was also in that class. So like the 3 legends, the guys teaching the game today, all met at the same time. And then from there, you ended up having your own sort of like coaching trees, a la Bill Walsh, Bill Parcells, maybe Sid Gilman, all these guys. And that's kind of where I wanted to sort of start the discussion and frame it and see. I'm trying to piece it together, and I know everyone they just love you guys. So I guess maybe we can start there, because the history is very murky. Where did you guys first meet, and was it at this, this seminar, and how did your paths end up, staying together, and also, you sort of veering off into your own sort of systems and schools? And I will end that long intro there, but Dice Coach Heavy. Yeah.
The first 2 times I met Bo, the first time I had been invited by Jerry Patterson to be a speaker at a dice gathering he had in Las Vegas. He was trying to get new students into his program. And I was very active on Tom Morgan, Irish Setters Forum back in those days. And I was a writer on Tom's board. I've written a lot of articles for his board and was very active on his forum. And I had my own forum in those days too. But Jerry saw my popularity and he invited me to be one of the speakers. He invited Tom to be one of the speakers on that program that weekend as well.
Heavy, what year is this roughly?
This was around 2001, I think.
Okay.
And I was a speaker on there. And that night I went with a bunch of the GTC guys to play craps. Now, I'd never attended GTC. I was self-taught, but I went with a bunch of those guys to play at the Golden Nugget.
So Heavy, GTC was in existence.
No. It wasn't GTC. It was PAR back then. So this was before Dominator's great departure from PAR to start Golden Touch. But Dom and I were good friends back in those days. We played together, and we had even talked about starting up a business together. But when it came down to time to put up or shut up, he decided he wanted to stay with Jerry. So I went ahead and started my own deal. Now, this was a year later, but in about 6 months later. But anyway, in 2001, at that first meeting.
Hey, Heavy, can I stop you a second? Heavy.
Yeah.
Listen, wasn't that at the Mardi Gras on Paradise?
That's where he had his seminar, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where Frank was there and everything?
This was before Frank was there. This is the one, it was like 6 months before Frank was there.
Okay, because he did a lot of stuff at the Mardi Gras on Paradise.
He used a Mardi Gras on Paradise.
That's a real fancy place, isn't it?
The Best Western on Mardi Gras.
Exactly.
Yeah, Best Western Mardi Gras on Paris. What a delightful place to impress your students. So, but it was priced right for Jerry. He was all about saving a buck. He and Sharpshooter would share a room over there. I mean,
that's right.
Because Jerry wanted to keep an eye on Sharpshooter. He didn't want him to go lose all his money or something. I don't know what the deal was on that, but those guys wanted to get together and play a session that night. So we all went over to the Golden Nugget to play. And we were gathered around the table playing. And I think I was shooting and somebody said, "Hey, there's Bo Parker." And I'm like, who the fuck is Bo Parker? Whoops, there's the over-under right there, boys and girls. How many minutes are we into the program? I don't know. But who's Bo Parker? And he's one of the coaches with with Jerry. Man, he's a great guy, you know. And I said, oh, well, I turned around, shook hands with him. Hey, Bo, how you doing? Doing great. Well, Bo was standing there with his usual glass of, what was it, Ferrari Carano or
There you
whatever,
go.
Cabernet, drinking a glass of wine, watching all of us play, you know. And he's just standing there watching, and I'm throwing the dice, and he's standing there and watching, and I'm throwing the dice. He's not playing. He hasn't bought in that I know of. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he throws in something like 320 across, you know. And I'm like, shit, where'd that come from? You know, and I throw one number, and he's bring me down. I mean, just like that, boom, in and out of the game, bring me down, one hit and down. I mean, this is a guy that's got money management on his mind, you know. And I'm thinking high praises for this guy, you know. And then like 2 rows later, he puts like a $50 field bet out there, and I'm like, what the hell? My impression suddenly plummeted, you know. But then I threw a field number, and he got paid on that and took it down, you know. I said, well, maybe he did all right that time. And that's kind of the way he played. Just a few times he'd throw in some money, get a hit, and then take it immediately down. I'm like, well, this is the way this guy plays. This isn't so bad. And so that was my first introduction to Bo. And, you know, he did all right. He made money when most of these guys at the table didn't. So that was pretty cool. The next time I met him was about 6 months later, after Jerry had done a seminar in Atlantic City with what's his name? Frank Scabletti. I have trouble with his name. And I'd already told, actually I'd met with Patterson that first meeting in Vegas. I found out that he was wanting to sell par, so I sat down and talked to him about buying par. You know, if you want to sell it, I'll buy it from you. What do you want for it? Because I was interested not in par, but in his mailing list, okay? Because he had a very powerful mailing list, a lot of followers and everything. And I thought, well, if I can get my hands on that, I can grow my base of people that I know, because I was thinking about launching a dice influence business myself.
So Heavy, I'm going to interrupt here.
Yeah.
So for the people that don't know, so par was what at that time, and with who? Who was par, and how long were they at the sort of the top of these are the guys you go to learn craps?
Well, they were the guys you went to learn dice influence. And Bo, you want to talk about the origins of par? You were with them for a long time as a coach.
Well, PAR, PARR, is Patterson's Rhythm Rollers, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And that was primarily Chris Palicki, aka Sharpshooter, and Jerry Patterson. And because I remember in the early, like in the mid 1990s, I bought Jerry's Target system that was about blackjack. I don't know if you remember that, Heavy.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I used his Target system, which really worked out really well at that time. I did really well with it, but it won't work today because they've changed all the rules and everything, and then continual shuffle machines and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So I got into that, and then he had a roulette system that was okay, and he had a guy that taught that did really well, and he actually demonstrated it in the casino, and he did pretty good with it. And then the par thing came along, so I thought, I got interested in that. So I took all of his par. I took everything. I took his blackjack classes. I took his roulette classes. I took his par classes. I bought his par box. I did all that crap, right? And it was just crazy. That's how I got started in the mid 90s. We moved to Vegas around 2002. And so that's, where we, kind of went from there.
Yeah.
So that's where I got started with Jerry. It was Jerry and Chris. And as a matter of fact, Dominator, he was there for a while too. There was something said that Dominator taught me. No, he didn't. Sharpshooter taught me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And Dom likes to take a lot of credit for a lot of things that he didn't do. I've heard people have told me that they've called and talked to him about my classes, and he's told them that he taught me. So
Okay, so Heavy, that story checks out, because when I raised my hand in his class when he asked, I was the guy that said, yeah, I've taken everything, like what ones. And I had mentioned, he had mentioned that sort of intimated that he taught Bo,
Yeah.
which was funny. I was like, oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
so, but so to be clear though, was he like, were you guys with the three? Because I feel like these are you guys represent the three pillars at least in my head, that from the dice influence days. I'm not talking about anyone else teaching the game. I'm not talking about John Patrick or anything like that. I'm talking about from the dice influence days. It was really started with, and please correct me, with Par.
Yeah,
and
Par was the leader of the pack back in the day that was teaching it. There was nobody else out there teaching it that I'm aware of. There might have been some individuals, here and there that were doing something, but I don't know of anybody that was prior to Par.
Yeah, that's that's what I recollect too. Yeah.
And when I got together with Jerry the second time to talk to him about buying it, he brought Chris Palicki, sharpshooter, to the meeting, and we had lunch there at the Golden Nugget again. And he told me that he had another partner in the program, and they had decided that they couldn't sell. And I asked who his other partner was, and he said Sharpshooter. So it turned out that Sharpshooter owned the rights to the manual. Okay, he had written the manual, and Jerry was the promoter who was promoting the program. So Jerry owned the promotional rights and everything to Par, but the content was owned by Chris, and Chris didn't want to let go of the intellectual property. And so he had gone to Scabletti to get his book, which you just held up, published, to protect his intellectual property. He told me, I'm getting it published because I want to protect my intellectual property and not just have this manual I'm handing out at seminars. So that was his objective. I did a class before that next seminar. I did a class on my own in Tunica, Mississippi. I had 23 people sign up for that class after being told by Jerry I'd never have more than 8 people sign up for it. I had 23 people sign up for it. 4 of these people went over, I've told you this story before, to the Hollywood Casino after the class was over with. A lady in the class tossed a 90-minute hand. A guy we call the luckiest man alive made $183,000 on her hand. Another guy named Jim Backus, who has since passed away, made $77,000. Another fellow from Miami, Florida area, he made $33,000. The 3 of them took $300,000 off that table in an hour and a half. Now, they were all high roller guys. They bet very big. Luckiest man alive bet very, very big. That's how you make $300,000 off a session. You got to put some money on the table.
So were they in your class, Heavy? Were they in your class?
Yeah, they were all in my class.
Okay.
So Heavy.
There were guys who had Luckiest Man Alive had actually come to the first Par session that we did, scouting for shooters. He was a guy that had a lot of money, and he was looking for people that could shoot. And he liked my spiel when I did the speech to the class. And when I advertised that I was going to do a class, he contacted me and said, I'm going to come to your class, and I'm going to bring 2 guys with me who are shooters that I want you to fine tune. I didn't get fine-tuned very much because they stayed drunk the whole class, but that's another story.
Heavy, I want to ask you though, how often were Par that you would end up at that class to even go off on your own? How did you guys know about this? Bo, how did you know about this? Because this is such a new thing back then. Was Par doing stuff like, oh, we're going to do, a Casino Tears experience twice a year or something? And was it like that? Or were they offering something once every 6 months? How do you guys even find that? And then Heavy, I guess the next question would be, how soon thereafter did you go off and sort of say, hey, I'm going to do this? It was after the second time you attended?
It was after the first time I talked to Jerry about buying them, and he said he'd have to think about it. And I told him, well, I'm going to do this with you or without you, you know. And
Have you, and you had only been there one time?
I'd talked to him before, once in there somewhere about buying him, because he had told me in there that he didn't think he was going to be able to. And then we met with Sharpshooter, and Sharpshooter just shot the deal down. So I think there was 3 times in there I talked to him.
Dice Coach, do you know how often these were going on, these par and seminars?
He did them. He did his seminars and so forth. Because I remember we were on our boat in Mexico. I'd leave Beth on the boat and I'd fly to Vegas and I'd take a couple of his seminars. He did them every few months, maybe 6 or 8 a year, something like that.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, he'd hop back and forth between Vegas and Atlantic City. He had a good following in Atlantic City and on the East Coast, which is something I've never been able to manage. They don't like good old Southern boys up there for some reason.
So he was in.
Yeah. He had these little pins, these par pins that he wanted everybody to wear. And the problem was everybody's wearing a par pin. They're at the table, and all the dealers and the management look at it. Oh, these are all par guys. These are all dice influence guys. Yeah. They're trying to.
But you might as well wear a shirt that says par on it, you know.
Exactly. So that didn't work out too well for him.
Like you might as well wear your dice coach hat to the table because they know who you are anyway.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I used to do it. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, but
I walk in and start throwing the dice with my students, and they look at me and they say, "Oh, he's a dice coach guy." You know, I go, "What the hell?"
But you guys, the climate, those are very different times than they are now. Now you can show up with a par pin. It doesn't matter. They're going to greet you with open arms. The times were changing, and from what I gather. And I know this is going way back for you guys, and I appreciate this because I was thinking today, I'm like, God, I don't even remember what I was doing, and I barely remember what I was doing in the 80s and 90s. So it's great that you guys are, you
were stoned in the 80s and 90s. You don't remember shit
sometimes
about
it.
Now. You're in the 80s and 90s like I am about the 60s, man.
I was not a daily partaker. Okay, but that's
Tintin. Back in those days, you couldn't even take a picture at a table. Now they're taking their video and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a difference. That's a huge difference.
You couldn't walk through the casino with a camera.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's completely different times, and it was more what I would say adversarial. It was you against the casino in Vegas and AC, correct? So it was more of this like mysterious. I mean, it's like like I call it like a dark art, the dice influence where it was almost like, well, hey, are they getting the edge or are they cheating? Or this is something that I want to learn. And like from when par was going on, where does Golden Touch fit into this? And did they branch off quickly? Or, I mean, their genealogy, I mean, they have to be coming from that.
Can I tell you this? I'll tell you the story. I did the class in Tunica I was telling you about. And Jerry Stick, who was one of the par coaches, lived in Memphis. And that class I had was 23 people in it, and I couldn't handle it by myself. So I got Jerry, with Jerry Patterson's permission. I called him and asked if it'd be all right. To help me out during that class. And I got another guy from St. Louis that was a friend of mine who was a good shooter to come down and help me out. And I paid those guys to help me out. I was not aware that Jerry did not pay his people to help out with the classes and be coaches for him. They all worked for free. Is that right, Bo?
I believe so. I think they might give them a stipend, like a chip or something.
A dinner or something. Yeah.
I think we lost 10 ton on the signal here.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll tell the story anyway. So what happened was I paid those guys for helping out. And the following seminar we had in Las Vegas was the big one, the Craps Festival, where Scobletti came. And I was the opening act on that weekend. I went up there and did my funny shtick and everything.
Oh, that's hey, heavy. Wait a minute. Didn't we have like 140 people there?
160. It was
like
160, 163, something like that.
Yeah,
it was a bunch of people. I took 100 of my seminar manuals and 50 of my betting strategy manuals, and sold out every one of them. Everything I had to sell, I even took my old used practice dice and sold them. I mean, this is crazy. Everything I had, I sold. But he gave me some bankroll for the weekend too. But anyway,
did you lose it? Did you lose it?
Huh? Oh no, not me, never. I learned that money management and discipline thing watching you. You know, take that money down, put it in your pocket. The hell out of there. I paid those guys. So I'm hanging around that meeting, just kind of hearing Jerry Stick talking to Billy the Kid and Dominator and a couple of these other guys, saying, "Man, that class with Heavy was great. He had a YouTube, or not a YouTube, PowerPoint presentation. He had a slick, brand new, fresh, clear copy manual he handed out with everybody, not mimeograph pages and an overhead projector you wrote on with a grease pencil, you know." And he had when it was all over and done with, he paid me $300. And they're like, "He paid you?" And, yeah, I'd like to get paid. So would I. Hey, I'd like to get paid too. And this whole rumble went through all the coaches. And that was the same weekend you were starting dicecoach.com.
That's right.
That was the first weekend for dicecoach.com. So you were starting, and I'd just done my first seminar in Tunica, and I didn't charge much. I mean, I charged $299 for that class, and it was a full day class on a Saturday, and then we played all day on Sunday, and you know, $299 times 23 people, it worked out pretty well for what it was, you know, for a first class. And I got a lot of good feedback because I stayed over an extra day and played there in Tunica. When I got home, word about the three guys winning the $300,000 in that session had hit the internet.
That's
and all
great
of a sudden,
marketing.
everybody wanted classes, you know, and I was in high demand in the local area and, you know, on into Vegas. So
Heavy.
It did good for me. Yeah.
So, okay. So listen, so you guys, was this purely coincidence that you guys ended up really launching your own solo teaching adventures at the same time? Were you guys aware that each other were doing it? And
we didn't collaborate. We didn't collaborate at all.
No. I learned about it at that meeting when everybody was talking around, and Bo came by me and said, "Look, if you have any people that say they want a class and they can't get into the one that Jerry's got this weekend because Jerry is sold out, send them to me. I'm taking the surplus over and I'm, you know, working over them. We're launching dicecoach.com and yada, yada, yada. I mean, he's got his selling shoes on. He's working, you know.
Heavy. Remember, wait, hang on a second. Remember I asked Jerry, can I borrow your mic for about 30 seconds?
Yeah.
I said, I want to promote Dice Coach. He says, well, you're not going to sign anybody up. Remember, I got up there 30 seconds. I signed up. I filled up a Saturday and a Sunday class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have people around here wanting classes, you know.
Yeah.
Don't miss it, you know.
That's right.
You got to strike while the iron is hard. I go through these kind of sales spiels with people all the time. Of course, I've worked in sales all my life. So, you know, I get in a situation where a person has a sales opportunity to me, you know, and they how you doing today? Oh, it's all right. That's the wrong answer, you know. Fantastic. That's the answer. You know, you want to pass back to me what I'm giving to you. I'm trying to give you some positive juju here. You know, let's get happy. Let's, you know, give what you want to get. And
so did you guys, so Bo, who were you starting this with? Was it just you?
Just me.
Or you said, okay, so you guys both saw an opportunity then at the same time. So you both shared a similar vision, like, hey, I can teach this, or this is a great opportunity for, like, I mean, you guys are both great teachers. So, I mean, I find it very interesting that you both did this, like, sort of on your own. And it was a natural sort of, you you both had the same idea essentially. Sorry about my camera keep going out, but hopefully you can still hear me. I'll get
we can hear you.
on
We
this.
can hear you.
We're good at talking.
Yeah. Now, but how were people? So the thing is, how were people hearing about this today? We take it for granted with the internet and everything else. But how were you guys booking this?
There were half a dozen craps forums online, and I was frequenting them and talking up my stuff all the time. Now, we got a lot of negative posts from non-believers who said dice setting doesn't work. You're a con man. You're a, this, you're a that, you're whatever,
Selling snake oil.
Yeah, selling snake oil. But, you just ignore that stuff and you go on and talk positive. And if you do, most of the time you ignore that stuff. If they get really dirty about it, really nasty about it, you just give them answers backed by logic and science very politely and be nice and let them make a fool out of themselves. And, if you do that, logic wins out in the end and they wind up losing. But most people can't have discussions with people that way. They wind up, dropping bombs and using the bad language and all that stuff. And you can't do that. You've got to argue politely with people and point out how stupid they are without saying you're so stupid.
So you not only have to be a salesman, you have to be a good politician.
Exactly. So I got a lot of mileage out of the craps forums. I also had I had two craps forums. I had one that was dedicated to dark side players and one that was dedicated to right side players with a dice influence focus. And I had at one time on my right side board, I had 6,000 members. Now you can see the way forums have gone through the years, because now that same forum is down to about 500 members. So those forums have been replaced by Facebook and Discord and those kind of things. On Facebook, I've got about 4,000 followers between my two private groups. So I use Facebook to the same effect that I used to use my private forum. I still have my private forum because I use it as an archive for all the posts that have been put up through the years. I've got over almost 460 of my own posts I've written through the years archived on that website. So I would hate to lose those, I have copies of them all on my hard drive, but good grief, trying to find them all be a nightmare. So I just keep them on that forum for reference. And as far as other growth, I take every opportunity to be on shows like this where I can do live streams or podcasts or whatever. I take interviews with anybody else that is running these kind of shows, large or small. And I make personal appearances around when I have the opportunity to. And when people send me an email and ask me a question about anything to do with craps, I answer it. Even if it takes me, an hour and a half sometime to give them a decent answer, I take the time to answer those questions. Because why not? I'm 76 years old and retired, and what else am I going to do with my time?
Hey, Heavy?
Yes, sir.
Heavy? You don't do very well at answering your texts, though.
Oh no, I don't answer texts. I don't ever check my text messages.
Well, you do. That's the way we do now.
Yeah, well, I'm that's the one thing. I answer email like a son of a bitch, but text messages do tend to slip by me. My little phone chirps like a cricket, and I just.
What, are you still on the flip phone?
No, it's a $1,500 phone. It's a high dollar.
Go. They're all $1,600 now.
I've got that's true, but I've got one of the best cameras they put on the phone on mine. So.
Six Easy's in the chat. And we'll get to the chat and we'll get to these questions. But he said back in the day, the hardcore found what they wanted, which was probably true. I would say if you were searching something out and Heavy, your forum. I'll tell you this, man. You got a gift for the pen and paper and for writing. I'd like to just get back to that time as far as Now, Bo, when I'm over at your place, you were talking about, well, when we had this and we had Heavy over here and so was over here and Debbie Soft Touch was here. What were those like? Were you, so you've done a lot. It's murky on your end, Bo, as far as like, so after you did your first one, you were involved in different sort of, I think, were you involved with Irish Setter? Were you involved with Debbie Soft Touch? You had a different little thing going on in Vegas. What was that all about?
Well, my deal, okay, I never had a forum because I didn't want to have to manage, because that's a lot of work to manage a forum.
Yeah.
So Pablo was my webmaster, who was introduced to me by Tom Morgan, Irish Setter. And so he built I made a deal with him. He actually designed a website on a damn cocktail napkin when we were having a drink in a bar when I first met him. And so I said, okay. So I put it together, made him give him a piece of the action. So no capital outlay to build the website, but I paid him over the years, a lot of money. But anyway, that's where I got all my, besides word of mouth, was all on the website. And I still have the same website today, and it's very powerful, and it generates a lot of business. And now a lot of it's word of mouth, and then, like Craps for the Cure, you've been on that Heavy.
Yep.
That's how I met 10 Ton. But as far as getting back to Soft Touch and so forth, as a matter of fact, when Golden Touch Craps started with Dom and Frank, he wanted me and Debbie to join him. And so I worked with him a little bit, and I said, no, that isn't going to work. And he said, well, why not? And I said, because there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And I said, trust me, with our personalities, I guarantee you it would not work. And I was absolutely right. And I think Heavy would back me up on that.
Yeah.
But Dice Coach, did you ever teach a class with Dom though? Because I know, or
did I teach one with him?
Yeah, because I know.
No, I was with him in PAR. No, I'd never taught one with him. No.
Okay. But at the stuff that you were doing at your place, now was Heavy there? Who all was there, and what?
Well, Heavy and I had a lot of stuff going. We did seminars every once in a while, 2 or 3 times a year. How Heavy?
Yeah. Exactly. and the thing was, the reason so many of us did seminars with Bo, one of the reasons anyway, was he drew people, I drew people, so you got a synergy there. And he had a table at his house, so I didn't have to go rent a dealer school for the weekend. So
copy that. Yeah,
that saved me $500-600 from renting a dealer school. And so when I start looking at, I'm like him. I'm trying to control expenses wherever I can. And it's better for me to pay it on the tail end than on the front end. So we'll sort it out on the back of a napkin on the way out the door, and we'll all be happy. We've done that many times. But man, we've had some great classes over at his house. We had the one you remember some more than others. One, we had a big class, a huge class. And remember the movie producer guy that had the dog rescue place, and he had 100 acres out somewhere in California, and he just take rescue dogs and turn them loose out there on his acreage.
I forget his name. I delivered a table to his house out there one time.
Really? I can't remember his name either, but he was on the way to the class that morning, and he didn't show up. And we're like, where the hell is this guy? Where is he? Why is he late? What's going on? He shows up about an hour late, and he'd been on the way to the class, and somebody had hit a dog on the road, and it was laying out there wounded. And he stopped and got the nearly dead dog into his car, took it to a vet, and got it prepaid for it having whatever surgery it needed to have and everything. Did all this stuff before he came into the class that day. Now, you had a parrot back. What was that parrot's name? Was it Jody or the one?
No, Monty.
Monty's the one that flew into the refrigerator later.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one. Yeah.
One.
Okay.
Some of my videos, you can still hear him in the videos.
So later that afternoon, when we're getting ready to go to the casino, Monty starts yelling out, "Bet the 5 and 9, bet the 5 and 9." So this guy, the animal guy, comes out and announces to everybody, well, the parrot has said, bet the 5 and 9. We better bet the damn 5 and 9 right this afternoon. So we go to the damn casino, and all we can throw are freaking 5s and 9s all afternoon. And we're like, damn, Monty was right. So weird shit happens, And then like 2 weeks later, we find out that Bo had let her, Beth, someone had let the bird out to fly around the house a little bit, get a little exercise. And I guess she was closing her refrigerator, the door, and Monty flew in, and bam, the door got him, and Monty was no longer with us. So Monty's psychic powers came into question. But damn, I mean, what the heck? There went Monty, It was kind of crazy. So it was a sad day for everybody.
It was.
So that was a story of that session. The other sessions I remember were the ones where Wong was there. And you remember the one that night that Wong came out and we had the no sevens contest.
Yes, and what's her name? Mona.
Mona.
So they were the two finalists.
Yes.
And
Wong and Mona.
Wong, he goes, I got this made. He said, I got this one. I said, no, you don't. I said, because she's got more energy than you do. She smoked him, remember?
Yeah, she smoked him. And he's like, see, this proves it. This proves that dice influence works. And we're like, wait a minute. The non-dice, the random shooter just beat the shit out of you, Right. And he says, right. That just proves that, variability is there for everybody. And, yeah. Okay, Wong, but Stanford had a case of what I call yellow fever. I mean, there's a reason why his nickname is Wong, and it's not because he's Asian. It's because that's his pen name, and his first name is John. So his first name's not Stanford. He used Stanford because he teaches at Stanford.
Well, he was a graduate from Stanford.
Yeah, I thought he taught statistics at Stanford.
But, I think so. And his wife's name was Wong, right?
Some female he likes named Wong. I thought it
was his wife.
Might be his wife. Somebody had told me it was his favorite professor at Stanford was named Wong. But anyway, might be his wife. Whatever the case, he's not Stanford Wong. His name's John. I won't tell anybody his last name, but he probably wouldn't want it revealed. But he's a great guy. I mean, we loved hanging out with him. Maybe you can tell them the story about the live session we played at the Fremont with the two trucking company owners from Tulsa, Wong and his IT guy, and the little Asian guy that was in the hook. You remember that?
Oh, that Fremont?
Yeah.
Okay, that's when we had the dice at our end of the table for like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
and the Hawaiian guy. Yeah, he made like 10 grand.
Yep.
And the two truck guys, they had dinner reservations, remember? Yep. And they said, well, their wives kept calling them, said, hey, we got to go to dinner. And they said, no, move it up another hour, because we were there like 3 or 4 hours at that game. But if you recall, when the dice left the north end of the table, advancing to the south end, it only lasted down there about 20 minutes. It came right back to the other end of the table. Yeah, and Wong was down there. Yeah, he was there, exactly.
Yep. Hey, I got to step away from the mic for a minute and go plug my computer into the wall here. Apparently, I'm not plugged in. I'm running on battery, and it's about to time out on me. So you guys continue, and I'll be back.
Heavy, why don't you put your Axis Power Craps hat on?
Oh, it's so dirty you can't read the Axis Power Craps.
Well, get a clean one then.
On my head there.
Oh, put tattoo Axis Power Crap right across your bald head there.
Listen, dice coach. Yeah,
Yes,
let
sir.
me know when you're back. I like Heavy's background, man. It's I
A
like
block
that.
wall.
Yeah, dice coach. Listen, if my camera is overheating, so who knows, man? Maybe I'll just like be the voice.
Is your camera overheating?
Yeah, can you believe it? I don't know.
Why?
I'm gonna blame ETG.
Well,
Right?
just tell them to fix it.
We already swapped out the battery.
Wow, what's the matter with it? Now, can the folks out there in Craps Land, can they see us?
Yeah, they can see you.
They can see
you. I wish your camera was down more so the comments wouldn't go over your face, but you're fine.
What do you mean comment? I don't see comments going over my face.
You don't see any comments? You see that comment?
It's under my chin right now. That's under my chin.
Okay, good. All right, good. So Dice Coach, listen, I'm going to ask you this anyway. So you guys brought up Stanford Wong. When I was over at your place, and I always think this is a funny story, when I was going to take a bunch of books that one night, I was going to take all these books home. Heavy. So I'm telling you the story. I was grabbing all these books because I'm writing this book. I'm grabbing all these books from Bo's house. And I was like, oh, Bo, look at your name's in this one. And then, oh, Bo, your name's in this one. And you're like, I know, Tenta. And then I had a stack of them. And he's like, put those back. Don't take them. He's like, do not take them because they weren't written by craps players. He's like, that'll ruin you. Something like that. That'll ruin your mind. And I always, that stuck with me. And I guess since you did bring up Stanford Wong, and that was one of those books in there, your relationship with a lot of the authors and the writers and the guys that actually publish material, which ones do you think? Because there's been a lot of books, a lot of craps books I can't even get through. I just can't get through. I can get through, like, let's say a John Patrick thing because that guy just looks cool. I like listening to him. He's hilarious, but it wasn't necessarily had nothing to do with DI. It was more just, more on the conservative bankroll side of like just basically playing. But if you can talk about some of the books, because Bo, you have a library full of them.
Well, the best book on the market, in my estimation, even today, is Get the Edge by Sharpshooter.
That's what I think.
It's precise to the point. There's a lot of good information in there. That's the one right there. It outshines any other book that's out there, in my estimation, because a lot of the books, especially by Frank and, well, not Frank anymore, but Dom, well, not so much writing many books anymore, but when Frank was in there, the book would be filled with 75% advertisement for GGC. Yep. So you're giving very little information, but that's got more information than any other book in the market, in my estimation. What do you think, Eddie?
I'm on the side of Mad Professor's book, which you had the whole remaining stock of when it was put on the remainder by list by.
Wong on Dice and Mad Professor.
No, not Wong on Dice. The Mad Professor's.
I know, but I bought all of Wong on Dice too. I bought thousands of books.
Well, that book didn't impress me too much, but Mad Professor's Crap Shooting Bible.
Right. I had cases of them.
Yeah, that's a great book. You ever read it? Of course.
It's in my library, brother.
Listen, Heavy. Yes. What makes that book? See, I find, and forgive me for saying this, well, not really, but I find a lot of these books in a lot of ways out of date now. The main principles hold true, but they haven't accounted for the game changing, and the game has changed, and we can get to that. But they're tougher to read for me because they're based on a game that doesn't necessarily totally map to today's felts.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something I kind of addressed that in my 2024 update on the Axis Power Craps manual that we use in the classes, that when I first wrote the manual in 2001, 80% of the layouts were that was nice, were wool poly blend, or
with the big 6 and 8 on them.
With a big 6 and 8 on them, yep. As opposed to the over under 7, which you see on some of them these days, or some other stupid bet. And a lot of them don't have anything there, so you just don't know. But I don't know that MP's book accounts for that, but I don't know that anybody else's does either. Certainly Chris's doesn't address the new layouts, but it is something that needs to be addressed. And if you're going to talk dice control, you got to talk about, what kind of toss works best on a my brain has gone crazy now. A microfiber layout. So how are you going to toss? Some people like to toss them high and drop them at the back wall. Some people like to toss them low, kind of softly, and just kind of skip them to the back wall. There's different approaches on it, and there's positives about both of them.
But there's tables out there you can't play at all, no matter what.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them that are unplayable.
And for one in mine is that the Virgin in the high roller pit it's not a playable
Yeah.
chip.
Hey, you're never gonna let that go. That one.
No, and
I'll
you
never-
picked it, and then you picked the
Dude.
friggin' table.
Well,
Yeah.
he likes to play at area, so go figure that out. You know, I mean,
Yeah, there is a little relationship in there. I mean, but I didn't know, Heavy. I did not know that felt was going to be so bouncy, and yeah, I had never, I just didn't know. But
Yeah.
what I was also saying is that there was no ATS back then either, so that
No.
didn't come into play at all. So a lot of those
no ATS,
those
no
main
fire
bets,
bet, no repeater bet, no
all of that.
no carnival bet. Period. The only carnival game around was the Crapless Craps, and that was down at the Strat and nowhere else. You know.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
They started the Crapless Crabs, didn't they? At the Stratosphere?
Yeah, the what was his name? The race car driver that owned the place back then. Hell, I can almost say it, but I can't remember it. Anyway, he patented that thing when he developed it, and yeah, that was his. So there you go.
Did Howard, since Howard, brought, I obviously, met up with Howard a couple times. When he wasn't necessarily he really stayed in the lane of dice influence and shooting. Right. He was not necessarily a teacher of the other side of the game at all, I don't think, or that I really know. It was really just a purist when it came to like having the most beautiful shot you ever seen.
Yeah, I would
agree. Did he teach with you guys ever? Or was he involved in any way with stuff that you put on?
Howard and I partnered up on a couple of occasions. Well, not on a couple of occasions. We taught a lot of classes together at different times, depending on who else he was teaching with, because Howard would sign on to teach with anybody. You know, he would partner up with anybody that would cut him in on a percentage of the deal, and he liked to learn different shots. So if he could sign up with the Whoopsie Doodle group that taught the Whoopsie Doodle toss, and they would teach him how to throw the Whoopsie Doodle toss so good that he could teach the Whoopsie Doodle toss, and pay him to do it because he had a famous name in the dice setting world, and cut him into a piece of the action, he's all over it, and I can't blame him. I mean, he's worked hard to get his name in the business, and if you can make a buck off of it, I mean, Howard would do it. And Howard and I were good friends for many years. I first met Howard in 2001 at that Craps Festival thing in Vegas, and Howard bought one of everything I had for sale. Walked up. I remember him very well. He walked up the table and said, "What do I need to buy?" And I just put it in his hands, and he said, "How much do I owe you?" And I told him, and that was it. And so Howard was a good guy. He was a student of the game, wanted to learn all aspects of it, and he taught with multiple different groups beyond Patterson. He worked with Patterson teaching par. Then he went on to GTC, bought in with them, became a partner with them. He got disillusioned with GTC because they didn't want to allow him to play with anyone except their group, period. They didn't want to go off and play by himself, and he and I would get together in Biloxi and play when he was still coaching with them, and he never told them about that. They would have kicked him out if they'd known that. But he ultimately asked for his money back on them and left them and went to work for another group out of Vegas. It was teaching an off-axis toss, which I have no faith in at all. I've seen it many times. Every time, he'd be 29 rolls in on a good hand, and he'd switch to his off-axis toss, and I'm like, just give me a warning before you do that so I can turn my bets off, I never saw him get more than 2 or 3 rolls in with his off-axis toss after he got out to 29 or 30 rolls with his on-axis toss. So I always questioned that, and I always called it a whoopsie doodle toss because it looked like an accident when you threw it. But anyway,
Dice
he
coach,
loved that and
did you
taught it
guys
to a lot of people. Yes.
Heavy? Did you guys play, you, Howard, and Dice coach all at the same time at any point?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times.
I'll tell you a story. Here's the
Oh
story.
man, dude,
You'll remember this,
some
Heavy.
of these stories I'd like to see.
Bingo.
Listen,
Heavy, you'll remember this.
Yeah.
We had a
Dice
large
coach.
class. What? Tintin, what?
Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold that story. Do not forget that story.
We're gonna
I
go to a
wanna-
commercial break.
No, I just want a little shout out. East Coast Craps. I stand corrected when I mentioned Howard only taught a shot. Maybe to other people he taught about tracking and trends and other things. So that was purely just my experience with Howard, and seeing him multiple times it was purely just about the toss. Okay,
So did anyone learn any betting strategies from Howard? And I'm talking about not regressing and taking your money down. I'm talking about power pressing, getting money on the table, and actually winning some money.
I don't know. I just wanted to make it, just to put that out there, just
Bo shaking his head. I'll just say, I mean, I played craps with Howard off and on for 20 plus years, and I never saw him with more than $18 on the table. I mean, well, I might have seen him with 24 on it, but that's about it. That was about his risk tolerance.
But you guys played quite often then. How many times was this? Like, this is some of the stuff, like getting into just changing up topics here, but you guys, were you guys going out as a team or as a group, the three of you guys, with other people?
No, for a while there, when I was doing seminars back and forth between Biloxi and Vegas every 3 months, so I'd be every 6 months, and I would do a class in Biloxi, then 3 months later in Vegas, then 3 months later in Biloxi, then 3 months later in Vegas, hopping back and forth. And Howard would always do the class with me. So I was doing 4 classes a year with the Vegas for 4 to 5 nights at a time. So 20 nights a year. That's pretty good exposure.
Yeah.
To a guy. Yeah, we played a lot together, shared a lot of meals, spent a lot of time with Ivy. Great lady, love her to death.
Yeah.
Went out to the lake and fed the fish and fed the ducks and.
Bo, Bo, hit that story that I interrupted you on.
All right, we had that's all right. You're running the show. It's your show. You can do whatever the hell you want, right? Anyway, we had, you'll remember this. You'll remember this vividly. We had a big class, and we ended up going to the on the strip to the Flamingo to do a live session. And Barry Wong was there. Howard was there on the other end. I was at the opposite end. A bunch of people were there. Nate was there.
Stick right.
And Nate was, if I recall right, he was at stick right 1.
Mm-hmm.
And he's throwing the dice, and he kept throwing and throwing and throwing. You started with an $18 8, and you had it up to $900.
I had it up to $1,800.
Well, then wait a minute. Then it hit. Remember then the pit, the phone was ringing in the pit.
Yeah.
They got all nervous, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so you had it up there big time, starting with 18. That gets the house a little nervous. But everybody was in there. Everybody had a lot of money out there. And he had a roll in the high 40s.
Yeah.
So when he finally 7'd out, the dice traveled to stick left, right? Well, we passed the dice around, and I'm talking to Barry. I said, well, let's just give them back to Nate again. Well, the dice go down to Howard. I said, Howard, pass them back to Nate. I don't know if you remember that part. He goes, no, I want to shoot. I said, no. I have to give it back to the shooter. Well, I'm a shooter. I said, well, not today. Your star is not going to shine right now.
Yeah.
Nate's shining star. Let's give him back to him. And he said, no, I want to shoot. I said, Howard, if you make me come down there, you're not going to like it. Come on, bro. No, remember that? Yeah. So finally, he reluctantly sent it back to Nate, and Nate had another 18 roller. Yep. And then that ended the whole game. We all colored up, and we went. He was the only shooter out of the whole thing. That's all we needed. One shooter. Yep. We all made a lot of money. It was great. It was awesome. Yep. That was great. That was just a great experience. Yeah. Everybody was wowed.
It was a big hand.
It was.
We had 6 suits watching when I got my 8 up to 1,800. and I was standing there with 3 black chips in my hand, waiting for the next hit because I was going to 4,200 on the next hit. I'm fearless at that point, man.
Oh yeah,
I've already made $4,400 off of the damn thing, so I was there waiting.
I know. Yeah, but that wasn't your money at risk because that was money you earned along the way.
All my money's in the rack already.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. So those are the kind of stories that are awesome.
Yeah, that was a great one.
So what do you got going on, 10 Ton? You look nervous over there.
Dude, it was just your mic. I'm always worried about audio stuff. Listen, the guy that shout out Aloha Johnny. Let me do some chat shout outs, okay? Because it was Stupak that invented that, by the way. That they were chiming in on.
That's it.
Stupak, yeah, right. That's right.
Listen, there's a lot of people. Okay, check this out. Advantage from Biff Helms. Advantage Craps wasn't very well known until History Channel did the feature on Dominator in the 1990s. Yeah, that's true. That sort of propelled things, or that was sort of a big sort of breakout as far as marketing went. Correct? I would say that was and actually before I get to the chat, that History Channel show, that really was. How did you guys look at that? Were you guys, hey, this is good for the game, this is good for all of us?
That was a very dark show, I thought.
Yeah,
and the actor that played Dominator did it very well because the guy was I'm not going to say, but anyway, he was an actor, and you know how Dom gets. He's all egoed up, right? And Dom, if you're listening, we love you, man. But that's just the way you are. You can't help it, right? So I thought it was a very dark program myself.
Yeah, but Bo, that helped really. Like, I remember when I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, and I'm sure a lot of people have had that experience of that's one of the first times they see it, they hear about it, and it's very inspirational. Oh, I want to do that. That's really badass. Let me go do that. By the way, someone sent me, shout out Nakatomi Tony. He sent me this link today. I got to send it to you of Dom wearing a wig, and someone took him out to shoot for some channel. All right, put him in a wig. I gotta send this to you. It's hilarious, right?
I've seen that before. Have you seen it?
Did he have his motorcycle?
No. Listen, it's recent. It's recent. It just came out, right? And these two guys take him out because they heard he's the best, right? And so he says, this is what's funny, which I think you guys appreciate the embellishment on this. The guy asked him, well, how many times have you done this? And he says 200,000. Literally, he says this. And so I did the math. Like 200,000. You would have to be playing for 60 years, 10 times a day, every day of the year to do that 200,000 times. Hilarious. So I just thought I'd show you how there's always been big stories. Most of those bigger stories and the mystery and the sort of the really sort of where legends and craps sort of, these bigger than life stories developed from, these were pre-YouTube days, so.
Hey, 10 I want to stop right now. Heavy, do you remember this? Johnny Carson show. Jerry Patterson, he was on a Johnny Carson show. They put a bag over his head. He had his eyes cut out because he didn't want to be publicized.
No way.
That's what he was on a Johnny Carson show with a bag over his head, right? That was funnier now. Can you believe that?
Yep.
You got to love it.
He was showing how to shoot craps?
No, that was during his blackjack years.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting because Tony Leo, obviously he started teaching. He came from the blackjack world and then started teaching in I think 2001 craps. There seemed to be a lot of blackjack starting into craps.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I was big on blackjack when we first went to Vegas. I'd get up at 3:00 in the morning and go play blackjack every morning.
Mm.
But then they changed the game so damn much. I played a little bit, but not much.
So we had some going back to the Stanford Wong days. We did several seminars over at Wong's Pai Press back in the day.
That's right.
And we did them in his meeting room back there where we had.
Where was this?
Where was it or when was it?
Yeah, where and when?
2005, 2006, somewhere along in there.
In Vegas?
In Vegas.
Yeah, in Vegas, on the west side of the strip.
About the time he was releasing Wong on Dice, so you'd have to look at the copyright on that book to see when it was. I don't remember the exact dates, but around 2005 or so, somewhere in there. Wong had come out and sat in on classes with Bo and me several times, gone out and played with us a lot, got real tight with Bo. Uh, we'd had some other people out that were also in the same line of work as Wong, that were actuaries that did casino analysis and stuff, that we had sit in with us to track some numbers, to give us some verification that we really had an edge and all that stuff. And Wong mentioned it, and Wong on Dice, that he was tracking Bo and I, and that we had a positive expectation. You know, that when he first started tracking it, he was tracking the numbers of everyone who tossed in our group, well, students included, and just lumping us all together as a group and saying, oh, no, they don't have a positive edge. And I told him, well, you're tracking it wrong. You're lumping everybody together and getting an average. You got to look at each person individually. So then he took the numbers and broke them back out and looked at mine and Bo's results alone. And both of us had a positive edge. And he comes back and said, wow, I'll play with you guys any day. So anyway, we did those, and we did one that was attended by a lot of his blackjack guys that were interested in learning craps as a backup game, that they could play as a cover game to make them look like recreational gamblers, which I think is kind of funny. But that was their idea. We're going to go and play craps and pretend we're drunk and play and loud, play and be loud and all that stupid stuff. And the casino's going to think that we're just a bunch of recreational gamblers. So we trained this threesome of guys that were a professional team of blackjack players, played with a $6 million bankroll, and they played almost exclusively in Atlantic City. And the first year after playing with us, they won $850,000 playing craps as a cover game. So we're like, wow, congratulations, good job, guys, you know. And they're like, yeah, we think we can do better, you know. So what do you think they did? They went out and hired someone else to give them another lesson on how to be the greatest dice influencers in the world. Someone who taught a little bit different toss than we did, different mentality, and how to count to 5 and things like that. And
why'd you say the name, Heavy?
and so at the end of the second year, after taking a lesson from that guy, they'd lost $850,000. And so we're like, well, there you go. So they came to us wanting another lesson. And I was unaware of this little diversion they had in there for a year. So all I knew was that they'd lost some money and they wanted a tune up. So I said, well, let's see your toss. And the guy picked up the dice and threw them. And I'm like, God damn, when did you go to this guy? Because I knew from the toss exactly who they'd gone to. And this fellow was so embarrassed. He just head hung down. He didn't want to say anything, you know. And he said, well, we thought, you know, he's on TV and he's got all these specials about him, and, you know, he's famous, and we thought he'd really bring us up to the next level. And I said, well, how much did he charge you? And it was like 3 times more than we charged him, you know.
Oh, yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot, yeah. And I'm like, well, I guess you got your money's worth there, huh? You know, you learned a valuable lesson. So
yeah, well, I worked with those guys on one-on-ones.
Yeah.
And there's like 20 of them, and they ended up, it was mandatory. They had to buy a dice, a practice rig at a throwing station from us to continue this thing. They spent a lot of money. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. And then, when I found out at the same time you did that, he went to the Brand X.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out so well.
Didn't work out so well for Brand X. Now, I had a story I was going to tell you earlier about the seminar that Bo and I did together in Tunica, Mississippi. I had a pretty large.
George was down there.
Yeah, me and him and Roadrunner, because this would not be a discussion if we didn't include my buddy Roadrunner.
Man,
and George's buddy too.
Yeah.
We were all down there together, and had a large class, and good bunch of guys. And the first night we were down there playing, and one of the guys, was that you? I don't know. Somebody hit a pretty good payoff on a slot, and asked
me. Probably was Roadrunner, maybe. No, it wasn't that. It was I remember who it was. It was it was one of Roadrunner's friends. I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't remember the guy's name either. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had a big slot, 5,000 or something like that.
Yeah, he had a big slot buying. Anyway, he asked when the host was coming over to introduce herself to him, because, oh wow, this guy did good. He won money. We want to know him, get his information. He said, well, nice to meet you and all this stuff. Can you fix me up for the steakhouse for two for tonight? And she said, oh, sure. How much do you need? And he pulled out an amount that was pretty substantial that he needed, and she said, sure, I'll take care of you. And then I said, well, I'd like to go to the steakhouse too, and she's like, well, give me the card. How much do you need? Well, same as him, and we're all start handing our cards into her. Yeah, put us all, put up, me. We'll just make it a group thing, So we're all getting a comp. Yeah, same as him. We had not paid any attention to how much he's going to give us, but we wound up with a comp for, I don't know, $3,000-4,000 before it's all over with. And all these people are supposed to meet us at the steakhouse at 7:00 to go eat dinner. Well, we get to the steakhouse and they have one table set up. It's goes from the back of the restaurant all the way up to the front. It's set up for like 20 people, and we're looking at us, and there's 4 of us. We're like, how many people do you have this set up for? And the girl's like, well, I think there's 20 of y'all coming, and I don't think so. And Bo's like, no, I think we're, how much is this comp for? And like it's $4,000 or whatever. And he says, well, we'll try to see how much of it we can use. So we get over there and we all order everything on the menu. We get the best steak, and some of us get a little seafood to go on the side, and we get the good salad and
don't forget the wine,
the dessert, and we start ordering wine. And it's, do you have Ferrari Carano? Oh yes. You have the Cabo? Oh yes. Bring us a bottle of that and 4 glasses. And they bring it out and we pour it up, and that takes care of the 4 glasses. The bottle's empty. Go ahead and bring us another bottle. And for the next 2 hours, Bo's sitting over there getting progressively drunk, saying, bring us another bottle of that Ferrari Carano. Ferrari, bring us another bottle of that goddamn wine. Thinking this $12.50 wine can't be more than $24 here in the casino. I mean, well, it turns out they're charging us $85 a bottle for this wine. So we get the bill, and the 4 of us have consumed something like $6,000 worth of food and wine.
I think you're exaggerating a little bit, Heavy.
Well, it's a bunch. Yeah. And Bo starts arguing with him about the bill, and we're all just sitting around with, I didn't order the wine.
Yeah. Blame him.
Yeah, so Bo gets hung with the bill and settles it at checkout.
Well, you know what happened? I'll tell you about checkout. What happened?
Day off or something or other.
Well, remember our host, the lady, right? I forget what her name was. She, her mom lived in a different state, and she was sick. She was going to be gone when we checked out. I said, well, give me your personal cell number. I want to be in contact with you in case I have a problem checking out. She said, oh, you won't have a problem checking out. And so I said, okay, but I still want your number. So she gave me her number, right? So when I went to check out, my bill was like over $3,000, right? Mm-hmm. And so I said, well, it's supposed to be comped, and they weren't going to comp it. And I said, well, you need to get a hold of the host because it's supposed to be comped. He said, well, we can't call her. She's off today. I said, yeah, she's visiting her mom out of state. Well, how do you know that? I said, because I asked questions. I said, so call her. We can't call her. I said, I'll call her. So I dialed the phone. She said, you can't do that. I'm doing it. So I get her on the phone. I'm talking to her. And she's, yeah, Bo, how's it going? I said, I've got a problem at checkout. Will you straighten it out for me? I hand her my cell phone, blah, blah, blah. Got everything. Because they want me to put it on a credit card and settle up later. It doesn't work that way. It'll never come off. No. So anyway, they ended up comping the whole thing after talking to her, and they couldn't believe it. She said, well, it's the first time anybody's ever done that. Yeah. Well,
Well,
right?
they're out here in the cotton patch. These people don't know they can do that. But,
Yeah, exactly. So you plan ahead. Plan ahead.
but the other thing, the next morning is Saturday morning. The class starts, and I go down, and Roadrunner is still at the craps table, and I'm like, "Hey, you're up early," and George,
You never went to bed.
"No, I'm up late," and I said, "You haven't been to bed yet?" "No," and I'm like, "Class starts here in."
He was my
45.
ride too, Heavy.
Yeah, class starts in 45 minutes, and he says, "I don't think I'm going to make it." You seen Bo? Yeah, he was playing blackjack a few minutes ago. He just went to bed. I'm like, oh crap.
So we showed up to class a little late and probably a little inebriated.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I felt. Remember that dealer school was right next to the pizza place. Remember?
Yeah.
So when I made an announcement, I said, "Okay, so I'll buy pizza for everybody at lunch." And so remember, when I did that, just to kind of apologize a little bit.
Yeah, it was a fun day.
It was all good. You weren't exactly happy at that moment because you were under the gun.
I was under the gun. I had a lot of bodies around trying to figure out how to dance around that thing, but
it worked out.
It happens. Anyway, that was all good. I got that on my list? Oh, I was going to ask you if you had any favorite favorite Roadrunner stories, because he was always there in the.
Oh yeah, I got one. I got a good one.
Shoot.
We're at Rio one night, and he always charts everything in his little spiral. And I got into it with him. He's pissed off because he couldn't throw very well, right? I said, the reason why is because you're writing all this shit down. Give me that. I took the book away from him.
Yeah. Right.
He was really mad. He was pissed when I took the book away. So I said, now you can focus and shoot, because you're on the left side of the brain. You need to be on the right side of the brain. And so, okay, so gets it, and he lit up the table. So then he thanked me for taking his spiral book away.
Yep.
So that was good. And I remember another time out at Green Valley Ranch. We were supposed to meet him for lunch out there, and the table was full. He had the dice stick right one. Remember, he's got a lot of backspin on his dice, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so he's lighting them up, and as people in the crowd that I'm standing with, they said, "Boy, this guy's really lucky." I said, "No, it's not luck." "What do you mean?" I said, "It's controlled luck." "What do you mean it's controlled luck?" I said, blah, blah. I went into the whole scenario. "Oh, wow, that's kind of cool, blah, 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 controlled luck." So there you go. So that worked out. Those are some pretty cool stories.
Yeah.
And then, we always, at New Year's Eve, we always go over to his house. We, me and my wife and him and his Vera and then Pablo and his wife would go over there and New Year's Eve and have a New Year's Eve party and do whatever it is, a murder mystery friggin' thing.
Oh yeah, he loved to do murder mystery theater.
And he makes me some vodka, what do you call them? Martinis, right? And so, if you drink too many vodka martinis, then you don't really know what's really going on around, right? So they switched the martinis vodka for water, and I couldn't tell the difference. You couldn't tell the difference. So that's when you know you've had too much vodka, right?
I'm telling you.
There you go.
Hey, really quick.
Yeah.
Heavy, hold on a second. Bo, you mentioned something, so I want to ask you both. You mentioned right side brain, left side brain. BRB had sent me in something, and he wanted me to ask you, Heavy, about an article that you had in your forum about it had to do with the right brain article that's on your site. Bo, you have always mentioned to me a long time ago what you just said about when you're tracking, how it takes you out from left brain to right brain, and that might not be, some people find it, like, for example, our friend Bump John, he can just be in that zone. There's a lot of people that track all the time. I know Justice Jen tracks all the time, and they're just good like that. So your thoughts on that, on both those, either one of you, but BRB, that was Heavy, that was a question that came in specifically from BRB about that article that you had on right and left brain hemispheres.
Well, I have two articles. One of them's on the left brain, one of them's on the right brain. The left brain's a lousy shooter. The right brain sucks at math, and that's the name of the two articles, and it pretty much says it all. Your left brain is the part.
Wait! There's only one brain, dude.
Yeah,
the left side or the right side. It can't be left brain, right brain.
Yeah, left hemisphere, right hemisphere. They're all connected by that little in there in the middle. But they operate independently of one another, and one side is the side that does the math and stuff, and the other side is the artistic side, the right side, the artistic side that is controlling shooting and painting and artistic stuff. Uh, that is why left-handed people tend to be, I think, better shooters than right-handed people.
That's Howard.
Ask Howard. He was
Exactly.
left-handed, he's functioning in right brain dominance. So um, there are tons of great articles if you just Google on those two subjects. And many of them are opposed to the theory of left brain, right brain dominance, but it's been proved over and over. So scientifically, I think it's a valid principle.
But where's it? Don't you have to be? I mean, you have to be using both sides of your brain at the same time if you're going to be a proper craps player or a good one, because it involves betting and some math calculations, which hopefully you've minimized because they've become just so repetition that they're almost they're like an autonomic nerve.
If you don't, you have my business card. See my business card, boys and girls. If you have my business card, on the back of it, you have all my betting progressions written down. So if you want to know what your 6 and 8 progression is, you just take the business card, set it down in the rack right beside your chips, and you look down. 6 and 8, 18, drop 3, go to 42. 42, go to 90, 90, go to 180, 180, drop 30, go to 420, 420, go to 900, 900, go to 1800, 1800, drop 300, go to 4200, 4200 hits, go to table max. I mean, it's all there. God, I hate to be pushing shit, but that's free. That's just a damn business card I'm always selling. But look, I have another article. I'm going to talk about articles. It's called Closing the Blinders. Okay. And it's talking about blinders on a horse. So you put blinders on the horse so he'll focus on what's straight ahead. You take them off when you want him to see what's going on around him. You do the same thing when you're throwing the dice. When I throw the dice, boom, then I open the blinders and I look around and I do what I need to do, and I can hear people talking. I can engage in conversation. I can do that. Now, a lot of people can't, but I've focused to the point where, okay, now I've got my bets made. I've collected my bets. I've got everything in the rack. I've said hello to my wife over there. Cheers. Now take a deep breath, let it out, focus on the dice, see how they're going to present them to me, know what I have to do to set the dice when they come to me. I'm zeroed in, 0.6, 5, 1, 1, 5, 4, 2, 2, 4, 3, 3, see the 6, throw the 6. I'm visualizing what I'm going to do. I pick up the dice and throw the damn 6. So I'm consciously switching states from one to the other by, if you want to call it meditation or self-hypnosis or whatever, but I call it visualization, and that's how I do it. And I practice that until I don't have to think about it. It's all part of getting into the shooter zone thing. The zone
should come automatic. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So do you have, I mean, you do not track and you will not track necessarily. Have you ever tracked?
Who? Me?
You. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I have too. And I still occasionally will track in the rack with chips. If it's a fast game, if it's a really slow game and it's just going on forever between rolls, because I may forget what the damn last number rolled was before it rolls again. But if it's a steady pace game, I can remember what rolled the last 3, 4 rolls. It's not difficult. I can look at my bets and tell. I can look at the ATS board up there and see.
Or the repeater bets if they got repeater bets.
If they've got repeaters, what rolled. So it's not that difficult to hash it out just by looking at the layout. But I usually remember pretty well. I know what the point is. I know what the last number that rolled was. I know for sure what the first number that rolled after the point was. If I had it up there, I pressed it. I always press the first number that rolls out. Why would I do that?
Hey, Heavy.
What?
I want to just start getting to some of these people in the chat.
Get to some people on the chat. Well, you know, I'll
Let
talk.
Let me ask you this. Okay, we'll ask this.
If
this
you ask me something, I'm going to talk.
Yeah, I know. This from 6 Easy, all right? Is 6 Easy. He's like, from my perspective, back then the tables had players, not what we experience now at the table.
Amen.
I mean, is that saying, were there more players? Is that 6 Easy's way of saying there were more players back then compared to now?
There were more people at the table that knew what the hell they were doing.
You think so?
Yeah.
Dice Coach. Do you agree?
Not necessarily. The game has changed, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And in the old days, there wasn't much. It was just, pick them up and chuck them, right? That's what the dealers were used to. And then we come along and they go, what the hell is this? Because I remember at Bellagio, they go, hey, this is not a game of skill. It's a game of strength. Hit that wall harder, right? So things have changed in that direction. But in the old days, there were a lot of $5 games, $3 games, So there's a lot of people playing, but not necessarily with the same mindset that we have today. I think the whole mindset of craps has changed dramatically from, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. What do you think, Heavy?
I think if I'm at a table, I can think of an example, playing at the Horseshoe last year, playing a $25 table that's about half full, and up under a bunch of college kids that don't have a clue what they're doing and buy it in the middle of a hand and start throwing chips around, late bets, have their hands down in the way when the dice are being thrown, all this nonsense. And I just turned to the guy next to me and said, you may want to play with these idiots, but I don't, and I just pulled my chips and set them in the middle of the table and said, color coming in, and the dealer's like, you going to quit? I said, yeah, it's beyond my tolerance level to play with these guys, I said, I don't know why you even let them in the casino. And he says, because they're going to stand here and lose all their money in the next 20 minutes. And I said, I don't have that long. My patience doesn't last that long. And it's gotten worse and worse through the years. The less educated the player, the less I want to play with them. If the table's got people there that halfway know what they're doing, I'll stay and play. But a complete idiot, I'm sorry. I'll find another game, I may have to walk across the street to find it. But
listen, this coming in from mutual friend of everyone's. This is I still say it's John from Pro Craps, even though he changed the name of his channel to Casino Gaming Central. It's kind of like I'll always know people by a certain name. Question: back before YouTube DI and these classes and craps teams were not like today, where it's all about eyeballs and clickbait. What was it like being in and part of the grassroots? Did you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were at the sort. You guys like. That's what I mean when I say I frame it as you guys are the three legends. Of I would say, wouldn't you say it's more of? You'd almost have to put a thing there that said like dice influence or dice control because you came from that tree with like you and.
You got to put Par up there as the big dog.
Yeah, well, he's okay behind you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, around the same time, I was experimenting with this stuff because it's 94. The casinos opened the riverboats in the Midwest. And I went from being a 3 times a year player in Vegas or Tahoe to being a 3 times a month and sometimes 3 times a week player in Shreveport, Bossier City. And what I observed at the tables there was that some shooters were consistently better than others. And I started watching them to see why. I didn't talk to them, didn't ask them why. I just watched what they were doing. They were all setting the dice. These guys were all stackers. They were stacking the dice and they were all throwing them into the opposite corner, throwing from hook to turn or from turn to hook. And not understanding why what they were doing was working, I started doing the same thing and I became a better shooter. So I started really looking into it at that point and became a damn good shooter. And I was still stacking the dice when I went to that first Par meeting, And some of the guys from Par said, "Hey, show me how you throw those dice." And I said, "Oh, okay. I'm going to set them like this. I'm going to stack them like this." And they asked me, "What are you going to throw?" And I said, "A 9." And they said, "Okay." And I tossed it onto their practice rig and tossed a 9. And they returned the dice to me and said, "Let's see you do that again." And I set them on them, tossed a 9 again. And they're like, "Damn, stacking the dice and did that." Yeah, that's the way I've always thrown them. And, that's the way I was throwing them when I threw 12 6 times in a row one time, 186 billion to 1 odds or something like that. And, it just
Never say never.
You do it. But, so you kind of need a column over here for guys that learned it on their own. You kind of need a column for guys that learned it from Par in the beginning. And then those of us that learned it on our own were online reading various forums where other guys who were trying to learn it on their own were talking. And Tom Morgan got so interested in this that he started dicesetter.com, the website. And that, in my opinion, became the big driving force for dice setting and dice influence from 99, 2000, along in there, up through about 2010, 2012, somewhere along there, up until he sold it to Debbie. Now, I'm not sure what year that was that he sold it to Debbie, but he eventually sold it to Debbie Garcia, Soft Touch. And then she turned it over to Michael to edit and operate. And I don't think it really lived up to any kind of potential from that point on. It just kind of sat there and never did anything.
Well, they got all of Mad Professor's articles archived in there.
Yeah. Some of my old articles are archived on there, which is fine. And I don't know what else. I think you guys did some I forget what you called those craps seminars y'all did together.
Oh, Dice Busters.
Dice Busters, yeah.
Dice Busters, yeah. We had a website.
Who are you gonna call? Hey,
who are you gonna call? Yeah.
Who are you gonna call? Listen,
we're gonna buy a pink Cadillac too.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I got a mutual friend to everyone, and my co-host here sitting here chiming in the green room. He's gonna come in here because I got a question that's good that he would appreciate. Here, adding everyone, Ed Robinson.
Uh-oh.
Hey, everybody. Dice Coach Heavy. How you doing, guys?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Hey, Ed. How you doing, buddy?
Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Been enjoying the show. Been enjoying the stories. I really have.
That bottle back there.
It's
what is
there?
Pendleton?
2 bottles.
Is that Pendleton?
Well, I can't see on this little screen.
I've got 2 bottles.
What is it, Ed? Is it Pendleton?
I've got some Heaven Hill, Ball and Bond, and then I've got a little Frey Ranch over there.
I'll be done.
Nice.
Heaven Hill be nice.
Frey Ranch comes from Las Vegas.
Oh wow. Have you had a nip yet?
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. I've been drinking and watching you guys, and all of a sudden.
Well, you'd have to listen to this, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's like
well,
the Keystone Cops.
Heavy. I'm surprised you're not smoking a cigar.
I was smoking one just before the show started. I can't smoke in the house.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't want to do that.
No.
Ed, I'm glad you could join us for this because I really thought it was a unique time to have these two on who we, you never see them on. And obviously, I got to thank you for the introduction, obviously, because, you've been a bridge to all of this. But also, when we talk about, I like to talk about football and how it overlays craps and the coaching trees. I really feel like, in Heavy's coaching line, you would be in there because you are one of those guys that were like really developed a lot of your style from those initial things. And then obviously there's 220 inside, and I don't know who else I would put in that tree, but that's a solid sort of lineage of that. And you would put Darth Nader in there for sure. And they talked about him earlier because he took classes from Bo. He worked with Heavy, and
I mean, Darth Nader was always in there, and then 220 inside used to be 22 inside, but we upgraded him because they kind of leveled up the bets a little bit to 220. Yeah, he's always been part of the deal. I mean, he's as good as they get. He's a lefty, which is unique in a way because there's not that many lefties out there, and 220 is not. And so is Darth Nader. Darth Nader's a lefty, actually. So both of them are lefties, and yet they both teach in the same philosophy and same program that they came up in under Dice coach and under Heavy. So yeah, excellent.
So okay, so Ed, I was thinking about this before. When you're at a table now, okay, and I obviously play a ton, it's become the influence from both of these guys and obviously GTC.
Yeah.
You can now, I can listen to someone and say, he's really influenced by Dice Coach just by how they're betting. I see people that I don't even know, and I will go up to them and ask them, why are you doing that? Like, why did you just turn your bets off? Why did you do this after this? Obviously, it was after a craps number or something. Yeah, it's always like a cue or a key. And there's people that you'll see the par toss. You will see that, and it's now so ingrained into, you can almost tell where someone has learned, which I think is really cool, or where they've sort of gotten some of their information from. My question specifically is you, since your real expertise is in, dice tossing and setting, all of that is, is there one, do you guys, all three of you, I know, Ed, you for sure always shoot from the deck, always have the dice shot from the deck. Whereas other people will definitely, like the GTC people, will not shoot from the deck. It's just a smooth backswing part. Is there, some people are just absolute in their teaching, Dom, there is no other way to shoot the dice. There is no other way to bet, which is very rigid for me and my personality. What do you guys think of this as far as specifically as it relates to throwing the dice? Do you think there's only one way, being your way, Dom's way, or multiple ways?
I think it depends on the individual.
Yeah, see, that's figured.
You can't categorize. You can't categorize. This is gonna, if you don't do it my way, it's not gonna work for you. That doesn't even make any sense. But shooting from the deck, I prefer that as opposed to not shooting from the deck.
Yeah,
but you gotta understand your client too. You gotta see what he's. We all have little problems, especially when we get older, where your fingers aren't working right, or this isn't working right, or you got a bad back, or whatever. You gotta adjust to that, or you're too short, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had a student. He's been a very loyal student for the last 2 years because he'd taken a GTC class, and Dom asked to look at his toss, and he showed him how he could toss, and Dom essentially told him that you'll never be a shooter. That was awful. You need to just leave and give up on the idea of being a precision shooter. This is never going to work for you. Nice way to treat the guy. So he came to me for the class, and I looked at his toss, and it was god awful. And I said, well, that looked tough. Looks like we have a lot to overcome there. Tell me what your problem is. And then he started telling me about he had rickets when he was a child. He had to have surgery. His shoulder was completely destroyed. They had to replace his shoulder. But because so much of his bone structure was destroyed in here, they had to put the artificial shoulder in backwards to get enough traction on bone to secure it, which meant he could only go back or bring his arm forward to about 4 inches. He could backswing all the way to the ceiling, but he could only bring his arm forward about 4 inches to toss the dice. So in order to compensate for that, he had to turn his whole body like this. And I said, okay, so what you're going to have to learn to do is toss like that, but rotate your hand as you're turning so that it stays flush with the back wall, square with the back wall. When you release, it's with the back wall. And I thought to myself, he's never going to be successful with that. But I said, take that home and practice with it 72 times a day at least, and come back to your next class and let's see how you do. Well, he came back 3 months later for the next class, and he was averaging 14 to 15 tosses a hand just every time he got the dice. Now he's running 20, 22 tosses a hand. His SRR is way up there, and he just keeps coming back and working on it. And he's a fantastic shooter. He wants to be a coach now. And I'm like, well, to be able to be a coach, you're going to have to be able to demonstrate a regular toss. And I'm not sure how that's going to work for you because you don't have that range of motion. And he says, well, I can put my hands on them and put their hands down on the table and show them, move their hands around and stuff. And I said, well, we're going to have to think about that. But, for a guy that the other team tells him he's hopeless, give up, don't come back, and you give him a little encouragement, and he goes home and works his ass off on it and comes back, and all of a sudden he's a shooter. I mean, hell, I'm proud as hell of the guy, and I'd take two like him over some of these guys that come in and are naturals from day one.
It's hard to find naturals from day one too.
Yeah, there are fewer and fewer of them out there.
I can't praise Heavy enough for what he's always been a mentor of mine. So when I work with students on trying to work their toss, I don't try to change their toss in the beginning. I go, okay, let's see what you've got, whatever your grip is, whatever you're comfortable with, what is it that you're tossing? And then I go, okay, let's see, let's make a few tweaks with that and let's see how that works. And then ultimately I will try to get them to shoot in a different way versus the way they're used to. Now, which do you like better? Now, I know that what I just did to you is totally uncomfortable. So take that to your home and practice what I just taught you versus what we just worked on while you're here at the casinos and that kind of thing. Because it takes a lot of time and a lot of practice to change that muscle memory. So let's take your muscle memory that you've got now. Let's work with what you've got. And then here is what I want to work with you when you get home. So there's a little bit of difference there, but ultimately you got to work with what they bring you. Right. And sometimes there's only been one person that I've ever run into. Dice coach is laughing. I was like, hey, dice coach, come here. I can't fix this thing. I cannot fix this. I do not know what to do. But, I mean, every once in a while you run into that, but that's ultimately, I mean, those type of tosses, you're not going to be able to fix ever. So, right, DC?
The thing is, they got to be willing to change too.
Yeah.
And this guy wasn't willing to change at all.
Yeah.
So but you're right. Yeah. When I look at their tosses, I look at what they do naturally and then slowly, coach them into making minor changes. Some have to be major changes, but minor changes a lot of times, and the LZ and all the stuff, the apex, the whole shot. Until you get their toss down, and then muscle memory. You got to work on the muscle memory.
There's a lot of things people bring to you with their toss that really makes them just another random shooter. And you've got to figure out how to turn that into some kind of situation where they're learning the proper mechanics, and people don't learn the proper mechanics, or they've ingrained improper mechanics to their toss to where it's almost a really struggle to get them to learn how to toss a dice in some kind of quote unquote mechanized way in which they can deliver the dice on the table in a a continual fashion where they're doing the same thing over and over, and it's a struggle at times. And then some people are naturals.
Yeah, I had a client one time. He came with his brother because he was blind, and I made a shooter out of him, shooting from the end. And it was really funny because they were standing at MGM Grand, and there was a high roller there that had half the table reserved, right? So my student, the blind guy, and his brother, because he'd tell him how to set the dice for the numbers that he was looking for, and the high roller was betting the dark side. And my blind student, it cost the guy over $300,000. It was just unbelievable. The guy wouldn't quick up. The guy said, well, he's blind. He can't, how can he do anything? Well, see, there you go. He's got a handicap. You overcome the handicap. But the dump better, you know how they are. He was bound and determined. I'm going to beat this guy. 300,000. Then he finally walked away. He quit. So
there's a blind guy in Tunica. Y'all were talking about Tunica earlier. There's a blind guy in Tunica. I mean, they lead him into the table. He's got a person that assists him when he's there, but I mean, security brings him to the table. They get him set up, and the dealers know him. They separate his chips so that he knows which part of the rack is the red chips. Here's the green chips. Here's the white chips. And then the guy wants to shoot. And the first time I saw him shoot, I was like, what is this all about? And it's like, how can he shoot? Well, the stick would set the dice for him.
Sure.
In the way he wanted them. And he would throw them. And sometimes he hit the back wall. Sometimes he didn't, but they didn't allow, they didn't call anything on him. They just let him play, and you bet on him. So you had to decide, are you going to bet on this guy or you're not going to bet on this guy? And more often than not, you needed to just bet on the guy.
Yeah.
Because he had a set that he liked. He was blind, and he knew where he was at. He knew is it stick right one, or he knew is it in the hook or wherever he was, and he would adjust his toss so that ultimately they kind of got down near the end or hit the back wall. So, and they never called him no back wall or anything like that.
Well, Ed, he would have no distractions. He would have no distractions.
None. He had no distractions.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. So maybe that's a lesson. We go there and close our eyes.
Maybe we should. Yeah, maybe we should. Sometimes we might be better off doing that, right?
Sometimes.
So I remember the first time I met Heavy in Las Vegas. I was taking a class with Heavy, and I was nervous as shit. And he was at stick left one, and I was down in the hook, down in there somewhere. And we were at the Flamingo, Heavy. It was right after, I don't know, during COVID or whatever, but I was like, I'd introduced myself, and I had gone and bought in way away, and I was throwing the dice, and you were like, after all, I think I hit one side. I don't know if I hit the all or not. I can't remember now. But Heavy was like, I hope you didn't mind I turned my bets off so many times on your toss. And I was like, I didn't pay any attention. I didn't know you did. So that was part of that process of, I knew that my dice, the way, and they still do, I throw a lot of horns, and he was throwing, every time I threw like a 12 or whatever DC, dice coach, he was like, turn my bets off. But I didn't even know, because I wasn't paying any attention to what Heavy was doing. I was trying to focus on what I was shooting. And that's part of the part that I think many people forget, is focus on what you're doing, not what other people are doing at the table. They forget that.
True.
Do you remember that, Heavy?
Very well. Seemed like every time I looked up, you were hitting an ATS from the hook.
I remember hitting. Yeah, you made me when we were starting going into team play and stuff. You was like, Ed's going to the hook.
Yep. It wasn't because there was necessarily any other place to put you, or I didn't want to put you stick left or in a good spot. It was because you kept shooting so damn good from the hook. I'm like, this guy's a good hook shooter. We'll just put him down there,
Well, I practiced from there, and I was like, I'm comfortable from there, and there there are plenty of other stick left shooters that are better than I am, and always have been. So I was okay. Just put me down there in the hook. When it's my turn, we'll see what we can do. You remember, Heavy? You remember when we were at what's the name of that casino downtown in the old
the new place.
Yeah, what's the name of it?
That's a good
Dice
question.
Coat.
What, downtown?
Yeah.
You mean it used to be the Las Vegas Club?
No. The new place.
The new place.
You got to show your driver's license to get in. Cirque, yeah.
The Circa.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cirque. We were up there.
Well, that's what the old Las Vegas Club was.
Yeah. Oh. And so Heavy had me down on stick left. I mean, I was all the way down at stick left on the hook. Banker dude was to my left. And we'd gone around that table a couple of times, and nobody was catching a hand. Nobody. I mean, we were just bleeding a little bit of money, shooter after shooter after shooter. It was a bouncy table. It was a long table. I remember one time telling Banker dude, I'm going to shoot the all 7 set. Don't tell Heavy. That didn't work.
Yeah.
That didn't work. And then I caught a hand. I caught a hand down there. I was using a horn set that I had. I said, okay, I'm going to use my horn set and see what happens. And I was hitting 10s. You remember that, Heavy? I was hitting 10s like crazy. And apparently I was hitting hard 10s. And we were all wearing masks because we were all wrapped up. We had to be wrapped up from COVID. And all I can hear is 10. I don't know that I'm hitting hard 10s. I can't even see it. They're raking the dice back so quick. But you're betting hard 10s and the 10. And I'm sitting there with a Banker dude, and me and him are racing up on that 10.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting there, and all of a sudden you got like $100 or something on that freaking hard 10. And I'm just throwing hard 10 after hard 10 or 10s and hard 10s. It's crazy. It was, but I didn't know what I was really throwing because we all had masks on and I couldn't hear the dealer. And you were down there on the end and you could see the dice and you knew what I was throwing. I didn't really know what I was throwing. All I knew was I was throwing 10s.
Somebody gets hot on the hard ways, I will get on them. Sometimes it takes me 2 to get on them, but, I was playing that session with Nate and 220 inside in Biloxi. You were at the table that time, 2 o'clock in the morning. We're down there playing in Biloxi. And
at IP.
At IP, yeah. And,
I was there. I'm a degenerate that was there, yes. 2 o'clock in the morning.
And Nate, out of the blue, throws a hard 4, and I'm like, hey, with that set, he never throws hard ways, So I just threw $5 each on the hard ways. I was up a little bit. Normally I throw $1 each on them, but I threw a nickel each on the hard ways. He comes back immediately and throws a hard 6. So pays 45. I press it to a quarter. Press all the rest of the hard ways up to $10. Rack a couple of bucks. And a couple of rows later, he repeats the hard 6. Well, I got that thing up to 100 now, and got a quarter left over. I lock up, and then he hits my $10 hard 4, and I get $70 off of that. I press it up to a quarter and lock up the difference, and then hit that hard 6 again, $900, and that's when Nate notices I have a hardway bet out there. So I back up 9 black chips and push him over to me. And everybody at the table is going, yay, except Nate, because he had no idea I had the damn bet out there. He pushed $900 up there to me.
Yeah, that was a fun night because
it was a fun night.
Did you guys take the class the next day?
Huh?
I think that was after the class.
Yeah, it was after
Nate was at stick right 2, 220 inside was at stick left 1.
Yeah.
Nate had not capped off the ATS. 220 inside got the dice.
Yeah.
And I remember, I was at that point, IP is 20 times odds.
Yeah.
And I was packing my odds as I don't know that I was going 20 times, but I was packing odds because we were hitting points and point after point, and 220 is throw, and he needs a 12.
Yeah.
I remember he needed a 12. Nate said, "Go to your 12 set," and 220 was a little bit about it, but he went to his horn set and he nailed that 12 on the next toss.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hit that ATS right then, and we're ballistic because we're raking in some nice money between the ATS, our bets. I mean, our bets have been paying off great. I'm stacking up huge amounts of money on our odds, and the ATS comes in, and we took about, I don't know, we took a lot of money off that table.
I had 10-5-10 on the ATS. That's the first time I'd ever hit it with $25 on it. I always bet it for 5-5-5, but it was his last hand of the night, and he had a tough weekend. He just couldn't put a hand together. And I'm like, yeah, he's due. He's going to hit this one. So I bet 10-5-10, loaded up on everything, and he just brought it home. So I was probably 5-5-5. I don't remember. Yeah.
I don't even remember. I just remember just packing up odds because they let you do 20 times odds there, and we were on a $15 table, and we were just getting point after point after point. Did have the ATS, and then the dice come to me, and I looked at my watch, and I went, color coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to throw. I really, 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 really wanted to toss the dice, but I went, color coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of fun.
I think I looked over at you at that point after he hit that all tall small and said, "Do you really need to shoot?" And you said, looked at your chips and said, "No."
Yeah, I mean,
coming in.
My shooter self was wanting to shoot the dice. God, I wanted to shoot the dice, but I was like, nah, we got a lot of money here. I don't want to give any back. I'm coloring up.
Yes.
And y'all all, just everybody on the table right then just pushed all their dice into the cum area on the table. It was a great night.
Dump it in, take it out.
Yep, that was fun.
Who else is out there in the chat?
10-10, we can't hear you.
I said, who else is out there in the chat?
Yeah, I know we can't hear 10-10. He's
now
yapping,
can you
but
hear
we
me?
can't hear him.
Now can
Yeah, I
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you now.
Yeah. All right. So listen, speaking of the ATS, I'm going to get to this question that we had on Patreon from Carolina Reaper. Okay. Since you guys just brought it up, he said questions for both of these two iconic legends. Given all the years you played craps before the ATS became popular, 2014, it's right around there, dude. It was a little earlier. Looking back, do you feel it has become a detriment, e.g., I like that he's proper, slows the game, or complement, i.e. bigger payouts to the game? Sincerest respect and appreciation to you both, the Reaper.
Well, I think actually that's the highest VIG bet on the table now with the ATS. That's the dessert tray. Some people like to make it their steak and eggs, man.
Yeah.
But that can bleed your bankroll. Because this year I've counted on my losses. My losses all come from the ATS. So I'm not really sold that, it's just like a recreational type thing. I wouldn't, the last time I put 25 on it when you were shooting 10-10.
Good job.
And you blew it, and then I put another 25 and you
I blew it.
Coming out again. So okay, there you go. So that's me. It can be a big bleed. Yeah, I think you need a separate bankroll for that thing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It can be a big bleed. There's some guys I play with that they're lock. Okay, I bet 5-5-5 on them. They're going to hit one side or the other. Okay, I mean they're just that good shooters. But those guys are few and far between. And if you go to a table and there's 10 players on it, and you bet 5-5-5 on every one of them, that's 15 a player times 10 players. That's $150 every lap around the table, and you get a big impact on your bankroll real quick. And if you're betting 10-5-10, betting $25 a table, it's amplified. And I've set it tables for 3 hours, 4 hours, and nobody's hit a side. So, is it a value? Hey, when you walk up to the table and you hit it, on your first $100 that you put out in action, that's great. You know, you hit it earlier in your hand, lock it up, hit and run, get the hell out of Dodge. But if you stand there and lose for 4 hours and it's your get back vote or get back bet, that's what we call it. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, no, that's not good. Don't sit there counting on that to bring you back. It's one of the reasons that I enjoy playing at the Hard Rock in Biloxi so much. You know, I don't depend on that bet to get me back. I have to work and be a smarter player to win at that casino, and I like that better. So there you go.
Old
Well, you're going to
school
minimize your
craps.
losses too by not playing it.
Old
Yeah.
school craps, man. Meat and
Let me
potatoes.
let me say
craps.
that. Let me say this. I mean, the ATS can be a bleed if you're stupid enough to bet it on everybody at the table. You've got to
True.
be selective. You got to be selective, and it can still be a bleed at that point.
Hang
But
on
I
a minute,
remember-
Ed. Hang on a
I
minute,
re-
Ed. 1010, are you listening? Are you listening to Ed 1010? Okay.
I'll bet it on myself. That's my primary person is me.
So you
All
got to
right,
be
all right, Ed.
you got to be selective, right? Right, dice coach. You got to
Yeah,
be
that's right.
selective,
Absolutely.
and you know, I will never not bet it on myself because the first time I hit it and I wasn't betting on myself for the ATS, I was like, I will never do that again. I'll waste 15 or 25 bucks on a bet for myself. I may not do it I'm not going to do it at everybody on the table. I may do 5-5-5 for a few guys, and I may do nothing. But you've got to be selective with that ATS on how you bet it and who you bet it on, in my opinion.
You're right.
And you've got to have a reason to bet it. You got to feel like you got to know that shooter. You got to know that shooter is capable of putting a hand together. And you've got to know that shooter knows how to change their dice to increase the probability of hitting a number, whether that number is a 10 or whether that number is a 3. You got to know that they've got some possibility or increased probability of changing their sets to hit that number without increasing the possibility of the 7. So I don't bet on everybody, but there's a lot of randoms that hit it. We've all seen it.
Yep.
I got another question here from our good friend Mudslide. Okay. He says, much respect to Bo and Heavy. When dice setting and dice control was getting started in Vegas, which craps pits on Fremont Street were the best and why? All the best, MM.
Well, in my opinion, one of the best was at Golden Nugget. They had the candy store there at one table by the bar. Remember that one, Heavy?
Yes, I do. I made a
Yeah.
ton of money on that table.
Yeah, we ball played on that thing together. That was
Yep,
one of the best tables down there, but not so much today.
No. We started to get heat on that at the Nugget around 2004, 2005 when when Scabletta got involved. Not Scabletta. Stanford Wong got involved. They barred him from the casino for watching the game. He was doing research for his book in there on 2003, 2004, and he was just standing around watching some of the guys play and making notes. And they walked up and gave him a trespass letter, and he says, "I'm not playing." And they said, "No, but you're not allowed in this casino because you're a card counter, known card counter, and we don't want your business, period." And he said, "But I'm researching a book on craps, and I'm sorry, you're already done. Please take your paper, sign here, and we'll walk you to the door." And they walked him out. And then he walked, because he was staying at the hotel as a guest, he walked around the outside of the building, walked in on the hotel side, went up to his room to get his, whatever you do in your room when you've been booted out of the casino, and his key wouldn't open the door. They had checked him out of his room and moved his luggage down to the Bell station. Got down to the Bell station, told him he couldn't find his luggage, and they said, "We have it for you, and you've been checked out." And they carried his luggage outside for him and left him at the curb. so he had to go find him another hotel to stay in. Bad experience. But yeah, I started getting heat down there. We would go in, me, Irish Setter, and uh, Sean Broadhead, who was Mad Dog, a couple other guys. We'd walk in. Oh, the guys from DiceSetter.com are here. I mean, they had us spotted, knew who we were. And we'd go in and start playing, and they'd start giving us crap. Dealers would, making fun of us for setting the dice and stuff, and we're betting for them. And after 2 or 3 comments, I'd just say, tell you what, guys, won't you just return those dealer bets to me here, because I'm not going to tip for you if you're going to sit here and make fun of me and make comments about me and talk about me. Okay, and they'd take the bets down, and that would typically shut them up, but it didn't build any goodwill. But I'm not going to stand there and be ridiculed by somebody that has no power to do anything else. A couple of times I called a box man on it. Box man would be sitting there listening to them make comments and giving you crap, and I just say, hey, Box, are you going to let these guys sit here and talk about your customer like this? Or are you going to say something to them, And he just like, you guys knock it off, that would be it. And, it'd get to the point where I'd say, you're going to write these guys up, or do I have to go talk to your, the day shift manager or whatever, the shift manager. And, he'd send the guy off the floor at that point and take your break now, get off the floor. But it was just a pain in the butt,
Hey, Heavy and Dice Coach, do you feel like there's more? I mean, back then, hearing about all these stories about all the crews that went out and played, was it a more unified scene back then? I mean, maybe because you had the same enemy being the casino, and it was more adversarial back then with the us against them. I'm just wondering if that's, I feel like the community now, it's got pockets of here in certain regional pockets. But do you think that it was more, there was maybe more camaraderie back then, or is it, or not?
Yeah, we had some pretty good sessions. It was usually the same group of guys with us. It'd be usually me and Irish and Mad Dog and a handful of other guys that would come in to play that were mostly regular seminar attendees that were coming out for repeat classes and that sort of thing. But Roadrunner was always around. Often Bo would be around, and South Shore Swami.
Yeah.
And Swami was always a good guy to have around. He was a good bodyguard. He would keep people from jacking with you.
Hey, Dice Coach, do you guys miss those days?
Miss the people. That's what happens when you outlive all of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there was a great bunch of guys. I remember one time I was in Bellagio with Chris Palicki and the Dominator and Frank and all those guys, right? And nobody could do anything. I mean, it was like PSO, 2-3 rolls, 7 out, 7 out. And the dice pit, the pit boss says, I don't know where you got your video or wherever you took your class. He said, but I've been wanting my money back because it was less than random woodwork. So we just thought, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we'll go get our money back. It's not working. So yeah, there's things like that. The Golden Nugget. Well, you had some heat at there. There's one guy. I barely missed the wall. He had a conniption fit and fell on it. And so when my student got the dice, he missed the back wall by about 18 inches because he was so nervous about then. And the guy just jumped out of his chair and just went berserk. And I said, okay, this dog and pony show's over with. We're out of here. See you later. Well, I go back a couple of weeks later, and there's the pit boss with a broken arm. The boxman with a broken arm, not the pit boss, the boxman. I said, hey, dude, how'd you break your arm? He said, I was moving some furniture, I rolled down the stairs, and I broke my arm. I said, I thought maybe you you pissed off a dice setter and he broke your arm. That would be more apropos with you. And then I didn't even buy it. I just left, right? So that was kind of cool.
That's funny.
I feel like, hey, between Heavy and Bo, I feel like, Bo, you definitely cop an attitude fast with the crews and everything. I mean, you really give it to them. Maybe more so than Heavy, I think. Is that true?
Well, I don't know. It depends on the situation. You got to be careful because it's their house. It's they can discriminate. However, they can ask you to leave and not come back.
But you've been kicked out. Okay, so going back to that thing with Dom where he says he's been kicked out of like every casino in Louisiana, wherever, and all these places, which might not be for craps, by the way.
Well, a lot of his is ego. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So, but
wait a minute. One time at on the Strip, it was at was it Bellagio? I think it was Bellagio. Yeah. Him and Frank, they had their guys at the table, and random people would, customers would come up and want to get in, and they'd say, "Oh no, you can't go in. This is a private table." When it wasn't a private table, and that's why they got kicked out of there. So it wasn't because they were shooting that great.
A lot of guys get kicked out because of their mouth.
Exactly, their attitude
instead of their ability.
Exactly. I remember one time I was there. Dominator was at stick right one. Frank was at stick left one. I'm at the end. Frank's got the dice using a 3V set, picks them up, and the bottoms of the dice are split. And I said, "Hey, Frank." He said, "What?" I said, "Your dice are split." I said, "You need to take a dice coach class." And that really just boom. It just went crazy. So yeah, those guys don't have a sense of humor. No. But it was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
I ran into Dom one time down in Biloxi. I've probably told this story 100 times. There was a bunch of guys that I had met at the Beau Rivage, and they were all DC. They were all his gang, pretty much. A little bit. Some of Heavy's guys were in, but I mean, they were all into town. I was like, why are all these guys into town here, in Biloxi? And I was down there playing with Charlie G. You remember Charlie G? Heavy?
Yes. Yeah.
I think he's left this world, but anyway, I was down there playing with Charlie G. And I was getting ready to leave, and I was like, Charlie G, I got to run over to Harris down here, and then I'm going home. Last morning, and I'm tossing, and this guy with these little round these little round glasses, baseball cap pulled down, he buys in, and he's to my left, and I knew exactly who he was, even though I didn't let on. And I asked him, I said, "Oh, where are you from?" And he told me, and I was like, "Yeah, bullshit." I didn't ask him his name or anything. I knew exactly who Dom was, and we were on the crapless table at Harris, and I threw 5 12s in that hand on that crapless, and when my hand was over, he said, "Oh, that was a really good toss." Now he's sitting there betting inside only.
Mm-hmm.
He's not betting the 2, 3, 11, or 12 at all. He's really betting 5, 6, 8, and 9s at most. And he made a little bit of money, but I made my weekend right there on the way out the door. And he was like, "That was a nice toss." I said, "Thank you." And I colored up, and I never even watched him toss. I just left. I didn't even wait on him. I just like, I'm done. I'm out of here. Colored up and was gone. Who knows what he did after that? Because, all the dealers knew who he was. Mm-hmm. The box, the pit boss knew who he was. They all, he had that card. I mean, he had his little red Caesar's card.
He swears up and down, he's banned in Mississippi. He's not supposed to be able to play there.
Yeah, well, he's not. So I'm going to call him bullshit on being banned because I played right beside him.
I believe that too.
Yep. So, he's not banned anywhere unless he was an asshole.
Yeah.
Somewhere. I figured. He's not banned for his ability. He's banned for his mouth and his temper. But That was one of those deals where I got to play with him for a minute, but I didn't hang around to see how he did because I was way up and way up. 512s on a Krampus table, you need to be up.
Yeah.
And I'm out of there.
Yep. Yeah,
Good shooting, Ed. Good shooting.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Hit the ATS. I mean, the table had, I hit 512s plus the ATS in there. So, that's one of those deals where I'm like, I know my bottom number is kind of my bottom of my dice is coming in. I switched to a cross 6 set where I needed the aces and I needed, so I switched to a cross 6 set where the aces were on the bottom. Kept throwing it 2 or 3 tosses, hit the aces. ATS was done. Then I went back to my other set and banged out a couple more 12s. It was weird because 12s were like back to back.
Wow.
Back to back, and then 2 or 3 tosses, then back to back again. I was like, I love these 12s. I mean,
did they have a repeater in that too?
No, at that time they did not.
Okay.
Now they do.
That'd be nice.
Yep.
I've got a question specifically as it relates to Dice Coach. You're really famous for, or I think, for the turning your bets off, right? And that's a trait that I always wonder where it came from. Now, Heavy, so where does that actually get traced from? Did you come up with that, Dice Coach? Is that something that you like? Heavy, do you do that, or was it just a common thing back then that Dice Coach carries on?
I think I have things. I have indicators, which I'm sure Bo has his indicators.
Yep.
And so we share some, and some I pay attention to sometime, and some I don't. So my indicators are the obvious things: stick change, dice off the table, cocktail server interruptus, the chip fill when the chip fill guy comes. I mean, those are all good reasons to turn your bets off because it's disturbed the flow of the game. Something has happened that's the shooter's no longer in his rhythm. Okay. And mid-hand buy-in, that's a good reason to turn your bets off. Argument between a player and a dealer that delays a game, that's a damn good reason to turn your bets off. Now we get into some things about when certain numbers roll. We have if a horn number rolls, turn your bets off. Now, for me, that's if a dice influencer is tossing the dice and he is using a set that should not generate a horn number and he tosses a horn number, I will turn my bets off. But if he's using a set he's trying to throw a horn number, like playing a game within a game on the come out roll, and he's betting the world with an extra buck on the ace deuce, trying to knock down some hard to make ATS numbers on the come out roll and turn that into a profit center at the same time, then hey, no problem. I'm not turning any bets off. I'm not working on the come out either, but it doesn't scare me. But if it happens mid hand, then yeah, I'm going to turn my bets off and see what happens next. I want to see a box number roll, a paying number roll, before I turn my bets back on. So I don't want, if he rolls 2 horn numbers in a row, I'm damn sure going to be betting a horn. I'm probably going to bet them I'm going to turn my bets off and bet a horn. Why? Because I want the opportunity to parlay that first hit if he throws another one, because that's where you make your profit. Same way with hardways. If a guy that you don't expect to throw hardways starts throwing hardways, I'm going to bet all the hardways for $1. That's chump change. You make your money on hardways when you parlay them. Okay. So, yeah, parlay the hell out of them.
But heavy, what you just said though, that also the caveat to that is that you also have to have some sort of knowledge of the shooter himself and what he's planning on throwing to specifically bet or not bet with those when he hits those horns.
I also have a set of rules as to how many of a certain number has to roll before I bet it. Okay, like 4 and 10, I have to see 2 4s, 2 10s, or 1 4 and 1 10 roll twice within 6 rolls for me to bet them typically on somebody else, not on myself. 5 and 9, twice in 9 rolls. If you see a 5 or a 9 roll twice in 5 rolls, they have to. You don't bet those like you do the 4 and 10 where they're together. But if you see 2 5s roll within 9 rolls, I cut it back to within 7 rolls. Then you bet the 5. If you see it within 9 roll, hello. If the 9 rolls twice within 7 rolls, I bet the 9. I bet them individually. I don't bet them as pairs. The 6 and 8, I always bet because it's only 1.52 odds, so always bet the 6 and 8, bet the 5 and 9 when they repeat often enough, bet the 4 and 10 before you bet the 5 and 9 because it's a better bet. If you can bet it for $30 and pay the juice when it wins instead of in advance, you get the house edge down lower than the 6 and 8. So, bam, play 110 or whatever, 120 even numbers, 120, 130, whatever the hell it is, 120 even numbers, 30, 30, 30, 30. And your house edge is below 1.52 on all your bets. What a country.
Dice Coach, what do you think of that specifically? Because you're a
I pretty much agree with everything Heavy just said.
Really?
Yeah. With a few exceptions. Like if like he always says, see a horn, bet a horn, call your bets off. I agree with calling the bets off, but I'll put a $30 horn high ace deuce, $30 field, and if the horn hits, the field pays, right? Or if the horn misses, a lot of times 4, 9, or 10 will come up with my hedge. If you want to push it one step farther, if you think the 7's going to be rolling, well, then you can always hop the 7 to cover your $60 out there for an initial hedge. And if, say, it does hit, so say a horn hits in the first one, okay, it's going to pay you 120 and you're still up for 30, right? And you're going to get $30 on the field unless aces or midnight rolls, right? Then just leave the $15 there. The next time you could, up it to 60 and 60 or whatever you want to do. Because the best I've ever done with that was at New York was a random shooter, hit 7 of those horns in a row. Boom. All of a sudden you got a rack of black chips. Yep. There you go. And also I look at other things like if a long lost number appears, I may call that bet off for a roll because a lot of times that number may repeat itself, or the 7's going to roll. I mean, none of that stuff's 100%, as we know, but you got to play in the game so long. You've seen so many of these things happen. You just kind of like, and also another thing is, what was the last number? What was the number that followed, but that was before the 7? And if that number holds up at the table, well, then call your bets off. If you see that number, call it off for a roll. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're just not going to get paid on that number, right? I'd rather risk that as opposed to losing the whole, because by then you've probably got your bets all pressed up out there. Why lose it all? Doesn't make sense. But
you
the
guys
energy,
but
the energy shift is huge. If the stick change is nice and smooth and you don't even notice it, I won't call my bets off. But if it's all choppy and confusion, I'll turn my bets off. Or if the guy's wife, the shooter's wife, comes up and talks to him, call your bets off, because it's just like that one night that you came into. I'm gonna throw you on the table here, 10 ton. It was, where was that? It was at that was at Bellagio. I had 4 students. I'm shooting, and he comes up and starts talking to me, and I got the dice. And he goes, "Oh shit!" He says, "You got the dice, don't you?" And I go, "I do have the dice." I said,
I was praying. I went into hardcore prayer.
But you gotta check it out. You can't let that bother you. Yeah. So I ended up with like a 30 plus hand roll that night. And it was on a crapless crap table. And Ed, as you know, I'm not really sold in that yet, but I'm getting more adapted to the crapless now because I did have a nice roll. So, but Tim Dunn, you didn't disturb me. It was
I love crapless.
I know you do. I was with you that night at Aria. You bought it for $1,000, cut it up at $5,000, and it was like 1 or 2 in the morning after we'd been. I was dog ass tired. I didn't even bet. I was there for your support, and there you go.
You're just there watching and laughing. I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. And the crew was great. They were great. They were awesome. You were the only one. Oh, there was one guy at the end. Remember, there was a couple there. They left. You took the spot. The guy at the end, and then boom. I mean, the crew was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So there you go.
You and Heavy though, you have a lot of similarities.
We
There's
do.
a lot. There's a ton of overlap. I mean, Heavy, are you a bet what's rolling guy, or are you
I'll tell you
more
when.
so? Yeah, I
Well,
would
yeah, you
agree.
better bet what's rolling and lay what's not.
But some
That's
people
right.
don't. Some people don't, and they're just stubborn because they have a system, and that's how they approach the game, and it really doesn't veer off from that. So sometimes a number could roll 4 times before they get on it.
I think I've told you the story that I was playing at Sam's Town over in Shreveport one night, and I had the dice. I have a 6 and 8 set that generates 6s and 8s, and I started with an $18 6, and I had it up to $420. Every time I tossed the dice and hit a 6, the African American gentleman at the end of the table called me a mother, and
Why?
you can't shoot worth a shit. And
Why, he didn't have the 6 bet.
he had 4 and 10 bet. That's it. And I kept hitting 6s and 8s, and every time I hit a 6 or an 8, he's on, bitch can't throw worth a shit. All he can throw is damn 4s and 6s and 8s.
6 and 8.
6 and 8 don't pay shit. And I said, sir, I got an 8 sitting out there with $420 on it that says it does pay shit because I got, 600 in the rack, that I've made off of it. So I got an idea. How about a hot steaming cup of, shut up? And he wasn't happy, but he cooled down a little bit. And this went on until finally he lost all his money. And he left the table, and I told the box man, "Oh, I'm sure glad he lost all his money." And he said, "He'll be back." And I said, "What?" Sure enough, he'd gone to the ATM to get some more money and come back. Did the same damn thing again. Went through it again. Lost all that money with me. Nothing. I broke him, hitting nothing but 6s and 8s, and he's betting 4s and 10s. And he's on with the same story. You can't shoot worth a shit. And finally, I turned to him and said, "No, sir, you can't bet worth a shit. If you'd pay attention to what's rolling and bet those numbers, you'd make some money. But you're sitting there holding out for that damn 4 and 10." I said, if I wanted to throw 4s and 10s, I would throw 4s and 10s. But I'm setting for the 6 and 8, and that's what I'm throwing. Pay attention and bet the 6 and 8. But he just kept bet the 4 and 10 and lost all his money and finally left with his tail tucked between his legs.
What you should have done, Heavy, was he starts betting the 6 and 8, and he's change your set, start hitting 4s and 10s now when he's on the 6 and 8s.
So you can't fix stupid. What can I say?
I know. But you got to pay attention. I mean, you see a guy roll three of the same number, say, well, you can't possibly roll another one. Well, hello, each number's an independent occurrence, right? And the odds of hitting 4 or 5 in a row are the same before you threw the first one. So there you go. Bet what's rolling.
Yeah. You got to. I mean, when you're watching a table, it's like I was at Hard Rock one night and I was trying to buy in the hook down there. And the guy was shooting from straight out, and he was setting the same dice set every time. He was setting his dice, and he threw like 5 horns while I'm sitting there holding my money. And then he 7'd out. I bought in, and I said, "Give me a $20 horn right then." Nobody else on the table bet the horn. Nobody else. And the table was pretty well packed. I'm buying in. I said, "Cut me a $20 horn out of that and give me the give me the rest." And they did. And he threw 5 more horns, and I'm continually pressing the horns before he even made a point. And everybody's going ballistic, and I'm the only one still. When he throws that last horn number, I am still the only one there and pressing up. And I hadn't even, the guy's not even made a point since I tipped the guy 100. I tipped the guy a black chip. Because I mean, I read what he was doing, same set, same toss, and basically the same result with what he was setting. So you've got to pay attention, folks. It's just like when I was at the in Las Vegas a few months back, and the guy was throwing the 5-2 on top. I was like, he's going to double pitch. I bet the hard 4s and hard 10s. He never hit the hard 10, but he hit 4 hard 4s because he was double pitching right there on the spot. I mean, you've got to pay attention, people. You got to look at what they're doing. And if they're doing the same thing every time, you can look at what they're doing and get the results in your favor. If I mean, it's not going to happen every time, but this guy, I mean, both times I was lucky. You call it luck, whatever, but I'm watching what they're setting, what they're tossing, and they're doing the same thing over and over. And I went, and this guy had already thrown a couple of hard 4s. And I'm like, you dumbass, you need to be betting the hard 4s and hard 10s. And there they came. They just kept coming because he kept double pitching because he had 5 2s on top every time.
But Heavy, you mentioned earlier you throw $1 on each one and then have to parlay it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've through the course here lately, I've been betting nickels on them and parlaying the nickels, right? Well, I found out it's cheaper if you bet quarters and not nickels, okay? And you collect the first one, so say the hard 6 hits. Yep. You collect it, you press the 6. I know Ed likes to press them all, but I'm not going to press them until they hit. And then that way you're out of the hard ways right off the bat. And it's actually figured it out. It's actually cheaper to deal with quarters than it is with nickels. I know it sounds kind of weird, but they got to be. You got to see them. They got to be rolling.
Yeah, I will occasionally throw out one for a quarter, but it's very rare. I know one time we were playing at I think it was at the Downtown Grand. You were with us. You were throwing the dice, and I reached in you threw a horn number, and I reached in my rack and pulled out a $5 chip and threw it down and said horn high, ace deuce or something like that. And you hit it, and they hand me this stack of money, about 5 times as much as I expected to get, and I'm like, you over? And I looked out there and I had thrown in a $25 chip instead of a $5.
There you go.
And I'm like, damn. Well, karma has struck today. All my honesty at the table because, and this is a question that gets asked. If I saw it twice today, asked by 2 different people on Facebook on different private groups, and the question was, one person wasn't a question. It was just I got overpaid by the dealer on a bet, and I just said thanks. I just thought thanks for the bonus, picked it up, put it in my rack, and cashed out with it. And the other person posted a question: what should I do if I'm on a table and the dealer accidentally in a rush overpays me on a bet? And 80% of the people in both cases said, just put it in your rack and keep it. And I thought, where has integrity gone in the world? Not that anybody's going to like
Ed's keeping it.
This, but I mean,
I know Ed's keeping it.
I know. But the point is, the person's probably not going to get in trouble with this because the eye in the sky is probably not going to catch it. But if they do, she's going to get at the least written up for it. She could lose her job over it. I'll say she, he, whatever, could lose their job. We'll get written up for it if the eye in the sky caught it. And if the eye in the sky caught it and you walked out the door with it, you could be arrested for cheating because you probably knew it was an overpayment anyway. They're going to assume you did from the video because it's on video. They've got evidence of you looking at it, holding it, putting it in the rack. So they're going to prosecute you, ban you from the casino and all that shit. And that doesn't scare anybody, They're like, shit, it's just $25. Well, why would you risk getting banned from a damn casino for $25?
Well, you got to be honest, and it's good juju. I was at a table shooting from the end. Guy next to me had a rack of black chips, and I had a rack of green chips, and he's betting every roll. He's betting the field. I said, dude, you need to change this up. No, it's my birthday. I'm having fun, blah, blah, blah. Well, he gets to his last 300, puts it in the field, and he lost, and he walks away. Well, the dealer forgot to pick up the bet. Okay, so the dice travel, and the 300 sitting there, and I'm the only one at the end. He rolls midnight, pays triple. At this place, it paid triple. Boom, boom, boom. So there's 369. There's $1,200 sitting there. And they say, hey, pick up your money. And I said, I can't do it. And he says, why not? I said, remember that guy next to me? I said, first of all, do you see any black chips in my rack? No, they're all green chips. I said, I could take those chips, but they're not mine. The guy that left, now the pit boss is listening. He says, well, what's going on? What happened? I said, well, the dealer forgot to pick up the bet. He goes, what? They immediately pulled him off the floor. So I don't know if I did him injustice by doing that, but I couldn't feel good about myself by taking the money because that's just not the way I do things. But that's, that happens. It does.
They will mispay you, and you need to be.
Well, I had another situation.
On guard. If they pay you wrong, you need to be right there. But I mean, if they pay you wrong in your favor, what are you going to do?
Well, I had a situation where I bet the 9, a late bet for $50, late bet coming in. Okay, they took it. They didn't pay an order. So they paid me for the 9, and then they paid me for the 9 again. And then the pit boss comes over and says, hey, did you pay Bo? And I thought, shit, they're going to pay me 3 times for this thing? I said, no, that's cool. I got paid. That's cool. I did. Okay, that's cool. Then I tipped the dealer, right? So there you go. You don't want to push it too far, right? That's crazy.
I think sometimes when you try to tell the dealer that you've paid them, that they've paid you wrong, that they've overpaid you, and they wave you off, it's because they don't want it brought to the attention of the box man.
Right.
Afraid they'll be written up,
Yeah.
And
good point. Yep.
I feel their pain. I don't want to cause anybody to get written up either.
No.
I'll try to, I'll just leave the money out there and just point at it. And, if she looks back at me and gives me that look, can I help you with something, sir? And I'll just push that back to her and quietly say, you overpaid me $7 on that bet or whatever, And, oh, thank you, sir. She'll rack it and not say anything to the boss, and everybody's happy, But
make them happy, or just take the money and say a dealer hand in.
Well, I've done that. I've done that before too. They've
split it with
overpaid
them.
me,
Give
and
them
I
half of it, right?
hand it back and say dealer hand in.
There you go.
I dare them to overpay me.
Come on,
going in my rack. It's going in my rack.
Yeah. Well,
let me get to a couple other questions. All right. And
Shoot.
because some people are fading, but listen, shout out Demon Dan. I haven't heard from Demon Dan in a long time. The guy's an absolute beast. He is a beast. And we played at a very memorable night at Luxor of all places. Oh
Luxor?
Oh my God, Dice Coach. Yeah. Oh my God. That guy is a hilarious player. It's nice to see some of these people pop up in the chat. A question here though from Mr. Biff Helms. He said, I played Stadium Baccarat because one of my locals had a $5 table. Now everything doubled. How do y'all adjust for inflation on minimums and expenses?
build a bankroll. I mean, that's it. I mean, you gotta have a bankroll, and that, people that play on short bankrolls are just asking to lose money.
Hey, Heavy.
What's it?
Hey,
hang on a second. You said build a bankroll, right?
Yep.
You just wrote an article recently on how to build a bankroll.
I believe that appears on your website, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you go to dicecoach.com, you'll see Heavy's article, How to Build a Bankroll. And if you read to the end of the article, I even posted up your next classes in Las Vegas.
By golly. And I've only got 3 spots left in those classes, should anybody be interested in them.
Go ahead, just to let Bob, we'll get to that now. Let's do the advertising, all right? Heavy, you're coming to Vegas. I know, we'll get to, I know Ed's got the Biloxi Brownwater Bash. That's like next week.
Yeah.
Right, Ed?
Yep.
Heavy,
this weekend.
When are you coming out to Vegas?
Classes
Advertise this. Do
class
it.
29th through the 1st, and I'll be arriving the evening of the 28th. Knock on wood. Who knows, with the disappearance of Spirit Airlines, it's filled every other airplane in the world up. But we'll get out there if I have to drive.
That's May, right?
That's May. That's
End of this month. Where are you staying, Heavy?
That's 3 weeks from now.
Where
I'll
you staying?
I'll be at the hotel that's closest to the dealer school.
Which one are you using?
Using Crescent West over on
Okay.
Desert Inn at Jones Avenue. And
Ricky, right?
good old
Ricky.
Rick. Yeah, good old Rick.
What a name, man. I like that
You like
guy's
that
name.
guy? If you want to
Yes.
buy those dealer schools, he's got 2 in Las Vegas, 1 in Gulfport, Biloxi, 1 in New Orleans. They've had
What's his last name? Ricky?
Richard. R-I-C.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Looks
Ricky
like Richard, but
Richard.
it's cool ass name. So it's
Yeah,
Richard.
That
Louisiana.
is a cool last name. That is cool. I like that. All right, so
And
we're
what-
coming out May 28th.
10-10. Wait a minute.
Heavy?
10-10.
What?
What we're promoting, we got Biloxi in July, you know.
Oh, yeah,
We
that's
got,
right.
We need people for Sunday. We got Saturdays filled up. We got 2 for Sunday. We need 6 more people for Sunday. So we've got 8 people signed up right now. We need some more. So that's it. That's all I'm saying for Biloxi. What is it, 24?
Six is the trigger for me to get on the plane.
Yeah, exactly.
6 more. All right.
You're going. So anyway, there you go.
So if anybody needs to reach out for me, if you do not know how to reach me already,
Do it.
just Access Power Craps, all one word, at gmail.com will get me. That's my main email address. Good way to find me.
You should have wore your Access Power Craps hat, have you?
Yeah, I should have, but my logo on it, I wore it mowing the grass, and it's
Oh, Heavy. You know what? I'm a horrible host, like at this, trying to run everything. But ETG made a little thing for you, a little intro. You want to watch it?
well, hell yeah.
It's literally 4 seconds, if that. Hold on a
Well, I want to
second.
see it longer. Put it on
Oh,
pause
my
while it's running.
Oh my God, where is this?
Hey, what's going on, my friend? Smoking a cigar.
I like that one.
He didn't play what I said when he called and I answered the phone.
What'd you say to him?
I said, "Who the fuck is this calling?"
Yeah, I know. That sounds about right. Heavy, you had the best story when you met me because we met at MGM.
Yep.
Grand, right?
Yep.
Walked up and you're like, you're a skinny son bitch.
Yeah, I think so.
Just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a little dark.
Yeah. That was
I could tell he had that Mediterranean blood circulating through his
yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, swarthy Mediterranean.
Did he say anything about your tattoos, 10-10?
No, he didn't say anything. Maybe
okay.
they were covered.
I don't know
there's-
anybody's tattoos. I'm afraid somebody in my family is going to show up with some. I've got 2 daughters, so
Yeah.
both
Well,
of them have their noses pierced and
oh, okay. Well,
You're wearing
okay, well.
hardware, huh?
maybe other things, I mean, who knows?
Oh man. Okay. Here's a question from Dice Grinders though, and this is one of the longest roll at the table. Where and when?
Who?
Actually, either of you, for both of you guys.
Oh,
Maybe it was witnessing, or did you? I know you guys have. I know, Bo. You've actually. That's a good question. What's your longest roll, Bo? I know you've been up in the 50s.
Yeah, 50, high 50s. That was at when it was Bally's. Yeah, Bally's, and then when I was able to play at Treasure Island, I had a lot of long rolls there. But here lately, my because of not making excuses or anything, but because my middle finger, my joints are separating from arthritis, and I don't have the same toss. So I'm retraining to the ice tong, which isn't the best, but I'm doing my best to make it work. So if you're playing with me, follow my lead as far as what I bet. Don't just jump out there, because I don't want this heavy. Remember that one time we had the class, we were at Rio. Remember that?
yeah.
And this was a few years ago, and I'm shooting for the end, and we had like 12, 15 people. We had a full table, and I set a point, and I looked down, and half the class has got money spread everywhere.
Mhm.
And I did a famous PSO, right? Not once, but twice. And I walked down and I talked to him. Remember, I said, "Hey," I said, "we didn't teach you this in class." We said, "Wait a roll, wait one roll." I said, it was a $10. I only had $10 at risk. Why would you bet? He said, "Well, you're the dice coach. You're supposed to do better." I said, dude, I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you. It's no different, right? So I gave him a lecturing, if you remember, and I went to the bar and I got myself a $20 glass of wine to blow off some steam, came back, went to the other end of the table. Boom, now I get the dice. I hit 4 to the fire, had like a high 40s, and those people were afraid to bet on me because they'd already lost, right? So then they lost twice. So pay attention, don't get in a hurry to get into the frigging game. And if you see the shooter not betting, why would you put a bunch of money up there?
Wise words. Heavy.
Yeah.
What about you personally? Do you remember like where one of your longest rolls was? Where, when?
Down at Binion's. Oh, this was about 10 years ago. I tossed a 61 number hand.
Nice.
And they wanted to pass the dice back to me. One guy wanted to shoot, so they let him shoot. He went 0.7 out.
Yeah.
Then they gave me the dice back, and I followed that one with a 66, I think, was the second one.
Oh man, hey, wait, whoa,
that is 66 to 60 plus number rolls back to back.
Man,
and that was a Binion's. And I not only made good money at the table, I got tipped generously too. I've had 2 classes that I've done, 3 classes that I've done where students have had tosses in the 90s.
Oh my God.
One was the guy, you remember Vin, Chinese 3V setters?
Yep. Yep.
He had a 96 number hand.
Jeez.
While I was sitting on an airplane tarmac out at the airport waiting to fly back to Texas, somebody called me from the casino. I think it was at the Palm. Somebody called me from, Vince just had a 96 number hand. And I'm like, thanks a effing lot for calling me and telling me,
Wow.
It would have made my weekend. Then we had another one with, why am I forgetting this guy's name? It doesn't matter. Over at Silverado, is that the name of that casino out going toward the M?
No, Silver. I know what you're talking about.
It's more like a Bass Pro Shop. What is it called?
It's right there in that neck of the woods. Anyway.
No, that's not. No, it's not right. No, it's Silver.
May not be
Silverton. The Bass Pro Shop's right next to it.
Silverton.
Yeah. Silverton. It is like a Bass Pro Shop.
Silverton. We were playing out there with Roadrunner and a bunch of us from class. Barry Wong was standing next to me, and this guy also had a roll in the 90s. I think it was 96 too.
Damn.
And George was standing next to him, whispering in his ear, "Just relax, be calm, everything is fine." And giving him little back massages while he was at it. George was taking care of our shooter. And then I had Barry Wong tossed a 90 some odd number hand at like 3 o'clock in the morning with me and Shoot It All. We were in Tunica at the Golden, whatever it is over there, next to the Horseshoe. What's the name of that?
Man.
Gold Strike.
Gold Strike, not the Gold.
Man.
Yes,
I wonder what it would be like, man. When you're into the roll, you're at a table, and it's like you've hit the 50, and then you've hit the 60, and then you've hit the 70. Yeah. I would be. I mean, I can't imagine the joy, and then you've hit 80. I can't even imagine that.
I can tell you on that game where I was at the Gold Strike with Barry I'm just like, can he hurry up and get through so I can go to bed? Because my feet hurt, my legs hurt. I was so tired, and it was like, now 5 o'clock in the morning. He still tossed the damn dice. Oh my God.
But Heavy, I feel like if anyone had an 80 plus roll, a 70 plus roll, you would have to be at Table Max on all your bets. I don't know how
you would
is
think.
it. You would think, even if you just sort of like started betting at roll 25, I still feel like you could be at Table Max by, the 70s, 50 rolls. right?
Yeah, I was not betting back then like I bet now, but
You would be surprised, 10 ton.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I mean,
on that Bump John's
long hands
hands
can have a lot of horns in them.
That's
and
true.
they can have a lot of. He can't throw another 6, and you regress, and you go from 420 back down to 42,
Yeah.
and start over and lock up $400, or whatever. So,
Well, and it depends on how your game has gone that weekend too.
yeah.
I mean, if you're in the hole,
yeah,
you're going to play more conservative.
Play more conservatively. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never know.
I never regress.
Well,
I never. I plead guilty. I never regress.
You ever watch Bluffing Bob on YouTube?
Oh yeah, Bluffing Bob.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well,
What a freaking dumbass.
well, he never regresses. Actually, he does regress sometimes, but not often enough.
He's just blowing money away.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, when you're making 100,000 a month or more
Well, you can
on
afford it.
YouTube, you can afford it.
Yeah, guys making.
It's like, I mean, I remember the first time I had a long run in Tunica at the Horseshoe. It was like an hour and 40 minutes, and it was a pretty fast table. So
Making some money.
Yeah, and I made $8,000 or $9,000, and I thought I had done great. And then I'm going to the cage with half the other. I mean, one guy even proposed to me, wanted to know if I was married. If I wasn't, he'd marry me at the table. It was like you go to the cage, and these people are like, "What'd you make?" And everybody's talking about it, and then I went, "Oh, yeah, I made $8,500, $8,000." And they went, "We need to teach you how to bet." And that's when I realized. That's when I realized you really need to learn how to bet.
Yep.
Because I should have made $25,000 off that hand instead of 8,000. And so those things happen, and you just learn from them. And so you learn how to bet when you got your money off the table. You're now playing with money you didn't bring with you, and you got to be ready for that long hand if it occurs. And when it does, you're going to rack up. You need to be ready.
Question from Globe, and I know this is true with you, Bo. He says, have you guys ever been on a table with all the numbers maxed out? I know you have at Caesars, Bo, from that story you've told with your guys.
Right.
I mean, have there been other times in Heavy? Have you been on a table with all the numbers maxed?
Oh yeah, of course. Table max was $500 a number, but
okay, no. Okay, not that.
I walked in and put that bet down myself.
Yeah. The big max, like now.
No.
Current maxes of like, let's say $5,000.
Oh, I've been on tables that other players have had that, but I haven't had that. No.
Yeah. But you have been at tables with that. See, I haven't. I have not been on tables where it's been maxed.
Yeah. I've seen it up in Atlantic City, in Connecticut, both. These guys come in with $350,000 markers. And they come in and ask for a $500 table. And they give them a private table, $500 minimum, and they go in there and max out all the numbers.
Or start out 32,000 across.
Yeah.
There you go. Boom.
Question from Pearl's Girl over here is, is there a way that you can tell when someone will have a long roll? Are there any signs?
Before the hand?
I guess so, right? It's maybe kind of like
nice.
the old,
I would love that.
You could hear something in the ground or something,
No,
wait, there's rain coming.
No, you don't know that, but you base it on if he is a good DI and known for throwing long rolls, right? But you got to bet accordingly. Is he on or off right now? So you still got to qualify him.
Yeah.
Did you get your money off the table? That's the question.
Exactly.
So if you got your money off the table and then you're playing with money you didn't bring with you on that shooter, you've got to bet it as if it could could continue for hours or not. So
Right.
you got to be happy with whatever happens. Right. So if they throw 40 rolls, perfect. If they throw 80 rolls, even better. But you've got to be in that progression of where, okay, now I don't care. You've almost got to be, I dare you to throw another 6. I got to dare you to throw another 10. And they throw it, and then you're at house max. So, then you got to know what you're going to do when you're at house max. What are you going to do if you ever get into that situation? Have people been in a situation where they've got a $5,000 4, they got a $6,000 8? What are you going to do when you get there?
Treat it like an annuity. Just keep collecting it. Of course, you could go to a come bet and do more, and then you could do, all these other things too, put bets and everything else. Yep. But why get greedy?
Interesting. Fuzzy, shout out to Fuzzy. He had said same bet as a regression. I mean, there's some truth to that. Pedal to the metal.
I mean, it's like when I was on that cruise a couple of weeks ago, 10 ton, I asked the dealer, can I do a put bet? And he went, I don't know. I said, well, ask the person over there in the box that knows. And they went, no, we don't allow you to do any more. We will not allow you to do any put bets. And I said, okay, watch this $50 come bet. So I started to do 25, and I went, that's not high enough. I need more. So I went to $50 come bets. And if it went to a number that was already pressed up, I just let it travel. I pulled, and I took my winnings and I pulled the place bet down and let that sucker set flat because it wasn't the number I wanted. I wanted a 6. So I wanted to get a max. I already had a max bet on a 6. Do I get a $50 come bet that I can put some odds on that 6? That's what I was looking for. So you got to play it as it comes. You can use those come bets to rake down. In that case, the come bet, if they won't let you do the put bet, you can let the come bet travel. You can rake down what your place bet was if you want to. Do a few odds or leave it flat. That's up to you. But bring things down, rack some winnings, and then you got a flat put bet out there, or a flat come bet out there in that case. So you got to play it as it goes.
Yeah. So, all right, listen, you guys, we hit the 3-hour mark.
We did. It's midnight back east.
I'm tired now. Okay.
Oh, you're tired. Finally, we wear 10 ton out.
So listen, Pearl Zero, we'll talk about put bets. We'll make sure we talk about that. That's what happens when you have nowhere to go but the workaround. That's the workaround. Table max, essentially.
Yeah.
60s said I learned the money always pads bankroll, otherwise you'll never know where to stand. I learned early the money always pads bankroll, otherwise you'll never know where you stand. Shout out to everyone that was in the chat tonight. Appreciate it. And also, apologies that I didn't get to a lot of questions. I know a lot of questions were asked, but you know what? Didn't want to interrupt these two talking because it's a treat to have both of you guys on here. And then it was really nice to have Ed join up. But Heavy, it's really great. I mean, I was just really excited to get I'm fascinated by the history and how it all started. And I think that it's still murky. You know what I mean? It's still very murky, and there hasn't been any books or any real writing to come out in a long time. And Dice Coach, you had said that to me. It's like, it's been so long since anything's come out. I mean, I bought something that was kind of recent. It's so confusing to learn. So it's nice to have two of your absolute OG legends on.
Thank you, Tintin. Yeah. Hey, I understand there's a new book coming out, though.
Dude, books are coming out. Casino Tears Press is officially going.
There you go.
Guys will have believe me, It's going to be it'll be nice because I think the canon of craps literature needs to be updated. You know, it does, as with how the game's changed. I do believe that it has. Still, some of all the old stuff remains. The fundamentals are there, but the game's changed, and I think you guys all realize it. It has changed.
Yep.
I mean, it's still old school. You know, like the what's on the Hard Rock felt when the no bonus bets, but you can't get around it. The game has changed. So, but yeah, are you guys? How often do you guys see each other? I know we were at Heavy's party last year, but
hey, Heavy, how were those cigars I gave you? Did you smoke them?
Yeah, they're long
good?
gone.
Were they good?
Yeah,
Were they good? All right.
Then more. I have another birthday coming up this year in September. I'll be back in Vegas, but it's going to be.
I asked one of your
18th.
I asked one of your students. What kind of cigars you like, and I went to the cigar store and told them what I wanted, and so that's how I found out which ones that you liked.
There you go. We did good.
There you go.
Let me guess, Maduros.
I like Maduros, Drew Estate Maduros. Yeah, I like Arturo Fuentes. I like a lot of them, you know, but mostly Maduros is what I smoke. But all the better brands, you know, Nicaraguan stuff, I don't care for a lot of the other countries out there. But Nicaraguan is good.
Perfect. Well, Heavy, good class at the end of the month.
I will. I might even give you a shout while I'm down there.
That'd be good if you have time. And Ed, have a good time on your bash.
Brownwater Bash coming up next weekend. We got like probably 100 people showing up.
Nice.
It's all just all of.
That's good.
It's just a
hey,
freaking.
but before you guys go, okay, Heavy, I want to ask you this. Okay, because if I said, all right, favorite city to play craps in, Bo, I know you're going to say Vegas without a doubt, 100%.
Yep.
Ed, you're going to say Biloxi, 100%. Heavy.
Yeah.
Biloxi.
Oh man, this is two Vegas versus two Biloxi. Why are you going to take Biloxi over Vegas, dude?
Food, pricing.
Okay, fair enough.
All the games have 10 times or 20 times odds. None of this 2, 3, or 3, 4, 5 bullshit. And food pricing is a whole lot more reasonable.
It's a third. It's a third cheaper there,
at least. And you know, we like the fact that we have a salt water on our beach. You know.
So Bo, what do you have to say about that? I mean, I know I still.
I fell in love with Biloxi.
Oh, man,
I mean, I could move there.
I
could move there if it wasn't for the damn hurricanes, right?
Are you going to change your?
They only come here for so many years, dude.
Yeah, it's just,
well, I know, but it'd be the year I moved down there. See,
no, it's statistical.
I lived in the house
for another 27 years.
The Southern hospitality was great. The pit bosses were great. There was a girl next to me, in our class. She was charting, right? This was at the IP. And the pit boss looked at me and says, "What is she doing?" I said, "Well, she's charting the numbers." "Oh, you're counting dice numbers." I said, "Yeah, that's right." He said, "Boy, we're in trouble now." I said, "Hey, you guys love this shit and you know it. You absolutely love this."
Bo, are you talking about JoJo?
JoJo, yeah.
Guess what? I heard. So all the Hawaiians were in town.
JoJo killed it. JoJo killed it.
She had a 58 number at 58 number at Fremont.
Yep, she sure did.
A documented role, and shooting from the end, she loved it. It was great. She did that after she took my tune-up. But there you go. There you go.
She killed it. Yeah, it was nice to see all the Hawaiians. I'm gonna try to get the Hawaiians on.
Get Brian. Get Brian. He's a good guy.
Oh yeah, it was awesome seeing them. And so
he took my class about 13 years ago.
Challenge.
What's that?
So
I said, get them all in one place at one time might be a challenge.
Man, there was 60. I think they had 60 over at Palms.
Yeah, they had all their Patreon people, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, they filmed there one day, and they filmed at Dorado the next couple of days.
Yeah, at Durango. Yep.
I mean, Durango. Yeah, Durango.
Yeah, shout out Double Up. Yeah, and so I mean, thanks a lot. to everyone that showed up, and this, the show's doing great. By the way, Ed, you'll appreciate this, and Bo, I don't know if you know Heavy, but I'm connecting the people up in the East Coast, but like 3 separate guys ended up all going out together, and they had a great time up at Foxwoods. It was Granite Dice, BRB, and Lip Kink. All, it's great to connect this community because I feel like
Granite Dice sent me the most fabulous. He sent me the most fabulous maple syrup. Yeah. Oh, frig, man, the best maple syrup I've ever had in my life. I didn't know they made syrup like that. Fantastic.
Wow. Hey, Tintin, did you realize your Casino Tears billboard still up on Tropicana?
Yeah, I know. It's hilarious.
A year. That sucker's been up almost a year now.
I know. Heavy. Have you seen that billboard?
Yeah.
Check it out. It's still up there. That's Casino Tears billboard.
I see it when I drive to Henderson. It's so funny. I can't believe it
online.
I can't believe it's still up there, but we'll take it. I just won't say I'd never say anything. I always think they're going to send me a bill for it. And then what I'm going to do if they send it. That's what I'm going to.
That's awesome.
Like, you know what I mean? Like if I forgot to check a box for like recurring subscription, but I don't know. It's just crazy, man. Someone saw the billboard on Monday. But so man, you guys can just keep going. This is a great game. I really appreciate you guys coming on here. It's nice to see you guys chatting. Maybe next time we'll get Dom on here.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Oh my God. So Heavy, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Bo, Dice Coach, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Ed,
absolutely.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Good show, guys.
Always my pleasure, Tintin.
Absolutely. Okay, you guys. All right, well, have a good one, and we'll beat you at the tables.
Cinco dos adios, huh?
There you go.
See you guys later.
All right.
All right. Good show, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
How the hell will I log out of here, right? Just hit the log out button, right?
I'm kidding. All right, later, Ed.
The red button. I'll hit this red button down here.
Thanks, Dice Coach.
All right, see you guys later. See you, Ed.
Okay, later, Ed.
All right.
Have fun.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay. We got this. Okay. All right. We're good. All right. We'll add this to the stage, get this going. Bring a little ETG in here. Globe. I'm not Pearl's girl making money. I'm out of prison in June. I think June 4th is when I'm going to go back and play. Globe. All you needed was King Dice. So I don't think people know King Dice is going to be on the show. What do I have upcoming? I'm pretty sure I'm going to have either Chow. I'm going to like to get Brian on here from Hawaii and talk about that scene. And then I've got Tony Leo coming on in June. That'll be a very interesting show to talk about stuff that never really talks about. I'm just going to try to keep it a little different so that it's just not, repetitive convos. I've got Huggy Bear confirmed to talk about Detroit. End of May, I'm going to have right before the WSOP. I'm going to have 2 guys if we can sort it out. Courtney, these are my good friends. Courtney, who won the Colossus for $500,000 last year. I'm going to just talk a little WSOP with him. Very interesting convo. But thanks for everyone, and apologies for not getting to the chat as much. I just wanted to let them go. I didn't even advertise anything. I didn't even. Let me play something at the very end. X-Man. Let me play this just so we have this, just so I can say I did it. This thing that ETG made. Let's see. Where is this?
Hey, what's going on, my friend?
One, I forgot. Listen, support the show. There's a lot of ETG. Bring out one of those shirts. We just got these in. The vintage black ones, long sleeve. If anyone's still here. Yeah, this one. All right, these are great. This Look at that. Yeah. These are this vintage gray. Super cool. Look at what happened here. Oh yeah, it's catching faces. These are new ones that are in. These are great. Oh yeah, here. This one. Solid. This is like a gray. These are cool. I've ordered some. Oh, merch puppies. That's right. Globe. Let's do it. Let's get to the puppies, man. Where are the merch puppies? Oh, you know what? I forgot to give a shout out to this is a little late. I don't know if he's still in the chat, but shout out the Dragon for joining Patreon. What a name. A Bruce Lee fan. Shout out the Dragon. What a great handle. I love that one. Oh, there's some more shirts that are coming that are going to be in the along with those dagger dice. They're going to be, I got some red Casino Tier shirts that we just ordered. That's going to be like a package thing. It's going to be pretty sweet. Let's see what else. Who else do I have on? Anyway, the schedule's filling up. You want to be on. And Fuzzy, thank you. It is a nice shirt, man. Oh yeah. And Wisco, of course, gonna Pit Boss approved. Wisco's merch. Shout out Wisco, Moonshine, Fuzzy. Oh yeah. Hey, ETG, grab that. I've got, so these hoodies, even though it's summer, these hoodies are fantastic. X-Man, it is perfect for poker because the rooms are freezing. These are going to be perfect if you're coming out to play poker. Yeah, get the zip up. So these, I'm super proud of this merch. This is not cheap merch at all. This is like fantastic merch. This is stuff that I would wear. All right. So these are the pullovers. The pullovers are great. These are these hoodies. These hoodies, again, all super comfy, super good. So it all goes to pay this guy. Actually, it just pays. None of this money goes into my pocket. It all goes right back into the show. Just in case you guys are wondering, it is the opposite of actually making any sort of profit. It just goes right back in here. Okay. Ronnie. Man, I don't know which Ronnie this is, but if it's the Ronnie, it's not Coach Ron. It's not Ronnie. But I want to get Coach Ron on. I've talked to him about it. I just want to get a lot of people. Who else am I getting on the show? Bunch of people. Yes, I know I saw Todd. Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. I actually have to do a special order for that, but I haven't forgotten. Okay. Eddie Money. You're the man, dude. At Globe. Haven't heard King Dice in a while. I used to shoot with him up in Blackhawk. Yeah, he's going to be on here. I got to give him a call. That'll be a good discussion. I know. I think he's got something coming up. And Eddie Money, no, I will rock the Isotopes hat at some point. It's a good hat. The hoodie for KCS. Sene Crampolo, thanks for stopping by. Senate vintage shirt is awesome. I saw oh my God, Biloxi Craps. Did I see Biloxi Craps? I didn't. I need to meet Biloxi Craps. I saw Toranaga at Palms this weekend. Yes, he told me he was there, and he was like, could not stand how much center action was going on, that it was slowing down the whole table. That's what he was like. He was like, it's driving me crazy. I think he still does have an after hours pizza spot. I'm pretty sure. X-Man, two-way zipper is awesome. Yes. Oh, Ronnie. Oh, it is, Coach. You're coming on the show, dude. We got to sort out your computer. We got to sort out your computer, Ron. We got to get this done because you would be awesome to talk to you. And it would be a really, really cool convo, dude. So, and as far as the book, that book, we are putting in illustrations and graphs now. It's done. And so that's the phase of production it's at right now. And it's going to be cool. You know why it's going to be cool? Because there's going to be no other book ever on Craps that will have elves and dwarves in it. And dragons. It really, well, I know you don't. Yeah, it's true. Okay. All right, man. I appreciate everyone sticking around. Let me see. I think pretty sure that's it. That's it. We're going to go to a little weather action outside Vegas. Appreciate everyone sticking around. I like talking to those guys. You know what? I know what. I got to say, talking about looking forward to Coach. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Ronnie, we got to sort out the whole computer thing, all that. It's a really interesting time. I'm fascinated by football coaching trees. I guess the most famous one would be, I mean, everyone thinks of, Parcells, which would go Parcells to Belichick. Actually, Belichick, they think Bill Belichick, and then they would think of Bill Walsh. But the top guy would be Sid Gilman, and then from him would be all these other people because they kept changing and innovating. Anyway, it goes down from Walsh to Shanahan to Reed, Holmgren, I think, Reed, Gruden, and then the Shanahans, and then all the way out, and they keep innovating. But you can trace football coaching trees in a weird way. I still think you can trace like dice coaching trees. You can see the influence of Heavy. You could see the influence of Bo, and obviously you could see the influence of the GGC people. I mean, I see it immediately, and then you kind of know how they've learned. You can really have a roadmap of how they're going to play. You have a lot of expectations for that. But yeah, the books I think it's going to be awesome. X-Man, thanks. Let's see, what's this? Big Foam Finger. Shout out Big Foam Finger. Stick right one. Backhand tong grip practice tonight during the show. Oh, awesome, dude. The backhanded tong grip. That's awesome. Good night, Pearls Girl. Thanks for everything. And then I'm going to get ETG in here, man, but 3 hours, dude. That's impressive. Those guys can talk, man. I think I'm more tired than those guys. ETG. Let's do it. Thanks a lot, you guys. Man. There you go, ETG. I wonder why that's gone.
All right, actually, let's do this. Bye.